Dan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Dude, I'm so fucking blown away by everything. This is so awesome, Adnan. Thank you so much for having me, dude.
Thank you for being here, man. We're currently on a level 3 hype train. The tribe just went absolutely insane. Bloody Randomer, what's going on? Lars is in the house. Everybody's rocking up, throwing their biddies. Hopefully not for the titties, but throwing their biddies.
Titties are good. I like titties.
How's it going, my friend?
Chilling, dude. Trying to get to what the fuck is that? Let's try trying to get my coffee down so I could wake the hell up for you guys, and let's get weird and talk about some crazy shit.
Let's get weird and talk about some crazy shit. Lars with another 5 bomb. Thank you, Lars. That means the absolute world, man. Derpy Paws with 202 biddies. Thank you, Derpy Paws. I appreciate you. Pims is in the house. You guys, you're distracting me. We have a guest on. We have a guest on, you guys. Let's focus here.
I was about to say, dude, so I have to prepare for explosion sounds, fucking 3-second guitar licks, snake faces. All right. All of this shit they control everything. They can even change my lights. I'm not kidding. See that fire? They do that. So the chat does everything. Prodigal Space with that fire. Lars, the party lights are over. Yeah, there's some water. That wasn't water, my guy. That was something else.
Thank you for the 69 biddies, giggity. Dan, let's officially start the episode, because we usually say, I gave you a little intro before the intro, but in your own words, if you could introduce yourself to these absolute maniacs in the chat.
What's up, guys? My name is Dan Sugarman. I'm pretty sure that's my name. I've been playing guitar for my whole fucking life, pretty much, and I'm currently in a band called S02E17. I write a bunch of solo music. I'm currently working on my newest record for that. The new S02E17 record's coming out next month. I have an online guitar lesson business, and I own an online guitar lesson community called Sugarman's Lesson Lounge. A lot of stuff going on with that. A lot of stuff going on in general. Doing a guitar giveaway, doing, too much shit, dude. I'm sure as we talk, I'll remember more about myself, because I don't know anything right now.
So like I was saying, there's a ton to cover, because I dig deep a little bit. I do a little research here and there, and there's a ton of stuff we need to talk about. Pims, thank you for the 200 biddies. Rexer for another 200 biddies. Kamakozi, good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here. What an absolute fucking badass community.
Seriously,
level 4 hype train. We just said hi. We just introduced our guests. Thank you guys. It's fucking crazy, because you said you've been playing guitar your whole life.
It's literally exaggeration.
No, because when I looked into it, it's been a long fucking time. It's not like I picked it up at 18. You were touring at 18.
Yeah, I was full-time touring at 17, actually.
So let's go back in time. I do things a little chronologically, but we ping around from that timeline every so often. But when did this whole thing start? When did you fall in love with guitars? I know your uncles have a big part to play in this as well.
You did your research, dude.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude. I guess, as far back as we want to go, I guess. My mother, since I was 5, was telling me that I had the hands of a guitar player, which is a sentence that no one ever fucking says. Oh, there's my dog and girlfriend. But my mom was basically, since I was a baby, saying that I should be a guitar player, and I just heeded her advice when I was a very, very, very little kid. And when I was 5, 6, or 7, my parents got me my first classical guitar for Hanukkah. And as I'm opening it up, I turn around to put it on the floor to open up my next gift, and my dad just walks in and steps right into the middle of the guitar. And that was the end of me playing guitar at age 5, because I didn't get to play it because my dad broke it. Fast forward a few years later, I think I was 11, 12. I started to get really into the idea of guitar. I really wanted to start a band with my friends in elementary school. And we actually wrote terrible songs, and there was no music. We were writing lyrics and melodies thinking we knew what we were doing. But effectively, when my bar mitzvah hit, age 13, all of my aunts and uncles pitched in and got me, is it up there? No, it's not. They got me a Gibson SG, a very, very legit guitar for a first real guitar. back up a few months, I actually purchased with my own money. It was like $40 from my friend, like an absolutely piece of shit guitar that I covered with whiteout and did Sharpie polka dots all over it.
It kind of looked like strawberries when I saw it. Actually,
you saw the guitar that I'm talking about.
I saw hilarious. The
guitar. Yeah, man. That thing was probably the first guitar that I learned, like Seven Nation Army and like Come As You Are by Nirvana. Like those were like the first couple of riffs I probably got down on that thing. But then when my bar mitzvah hit, I got that Gibson SG and things got legit. Like I all of a sudden had to step the fuck up. I had to commit to it and prove to all my aunts and uncles that invested like a serious amount of money into this gift. I had to prove to them that I would do something real with it. And fast forward like a few years, let's say 16 or so, maybe no, actually 15. I think I was a freshman in high school. Around age 15 or so, I started getting really into like metal and shit like that. And there was a band in my high school called Fallen Figure. They were all juniors at the time and I was a freshman. And I just got like the courage to audition. And in that first audition, it actually wound up going really well. They invited me to join the band. But on that, I don't want to get too deep into this shit, but this is like a very big part of the beginning of my career. And it's what's like kept me going throughout all of this. But on this exact day, I got a call from my dad that my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer on the exact day that I got offered to join this band, Fallen Figure. So there's like, from the very beginning, there's been this like mishmash of just like ridiculously awesome shit going on. And then also just this like suffering that my mom had to go through. So throughout my whole first like 10 years of touring, that was something that was going on at home in the back of my mind, right? So I basically, around 16, 17, I think Fallen Figure started to get some like serious steam. We had put out our first full-length record. And then the drummer of As Blood Runs Black at the time took interest in us and he started managing us, and lo and behold, very soon asked me to join As Blood Runs Black. And that was sort of the beginning of me doing that. And that was when I was like 17 and a half. This was right around the time I had just convinced my high school to allow me to go on independent studies so I didn't have to do actual like go to school shit. I actually had like a packet of work that I would take home, and I would just do all of my work for like the next 2 weeks in one day. And then I would go practice guitar for 15 hours. You know what I mean? I would go do little like weekend warrior runs with my band. So this was like the beginning of me starting to understand stuff. And then because that was going on in my senior year as well, I was able to start touring full time with As Blood Runs Black when I got the offer to join that band. So I started going hard as shit as soon as I could in reality. And then I stuck around doing that for like eight to 9 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
let's not. I want to squeeze every little bit of information out of those.
I'm blasting.
Yeah. But yeah, yo, the train. What's going on? This is one of the rare occasions where I've talked to a lot of people. We've done this podcast for a while, and everyone says I picked up an Iron Maiden album, picked up the guitar later. I got into Metallica, picked up the guitar later. This is a rare occasion where you picked up the guitar and then you're like, and then I started getting into metal.
Yeah, super true.
What was the first love when it came to metal?
That's interesting. I actually remember my very first guitar lesson with my Gibson SG. I think the dude's name was Danny. I'm certain his name was Danny. And I remember going in there and being like, yo, dude, I want to learn like Eric Clapton songs, and I want to learn like Bob Marley songs, like all this shit that my mom and like this, like Rolling Stones and shit like that, stuff that my mom and dad wanted to like see me play. And he basically sat me down and was like, look, man, I'm going to teach you real music. I'm going to teach you like Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Metallica. And I think it definitely wasn't Holy Wars. That was the second one. So the first song that I learned was Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden. Nice. And that was my first attempt at metal. That was my first attempt at like actual riffing instead of just playing like a cool rhythm part. There's like a harmonized solo that happens in that song. So it was my very first time doing shit, on a skinny string above fret 5. Like that was my that was my mentality back then, right? Like, oh, the skinny strings up high. No, I don't do those. You know what I mean? But it got to the point where it inspired the shit out of me, and it kind of propelled me into really, really, really caring about metal. I think soon after that, I want to say within a year, I think I found Avenged Sevenfold. and that might have been my very first like modern metal thing that I got into. And then simultaneously, I think Pantera somewhere bubbled into that sphere for me, and really quickly Dimebag stole the throne from like anyone else who would have had that throne. Like I looked up to Sinister Gates and shit like that for a little bit, but it was more like the album Waking the Fallen, like really just like I had never seen such a complete masterpiece in that style of music before. But then when I found Pantera soon after that, I realized that was real metal. You know what I mean? And that like sort of kicked me off down this whole path of like really trying to pursue my right hand for riffing. It really helped me pursue lead guitar playing. It really helped me focus on bends and vibratos, where most other players at that time were trying to do like an Alexi Laiho sweep type situation. And I think that the path that I went down wound up making me much more interested in emoting on the instrument versus being a technician or just trying to be impressive all the time. Although I like to like, you know, do things that are fun because it's really awesome to be able to execute something that's challenging. Music is not meant to be impressive. If you're writing music to impress people, you're going to get someone who like is scrolling on their feed and they go like, oh, that's cool. What's the next one? But if you can capture someone's attention and speak to them like through emotion, that's like someone who's an actual fan. And I recognize that, I think, early on enough to where I didn't get bogged down or consumed in the pursuit of random technical abilities for the sake of technical abilities.
It's interesting that you explain it like that because I found out that you have the two extremes of the spectrum. Like you have the theory and the music studies kind of approach to things, but you also do a fuck ton of improv, and that whole spectrum of like I'll feel it, but also I know how to put the sentence together is the way I heard you phrase it.
Yeah, it's like feeling. If feeling doesn't come first, then it's going to be a completely contrived thing. So for me, like for my first instrumental record that I did, Center Sun, in around 2016, this was right after my mom was diagnosed with her third brain tumor, and we were given like an expiration date effectively. And I decided right then and there, basically on the spot, to quit As Blood Runs Black and go home to be my mom's caregiver effectively. And in doing so, I immediately started working on this album Center Sun because I had like chronologically worked on it. Like the way that you hear the record delivered is exactly the order of the songs that I wrote them in, minus the outro song, Cosmosis. If you can hold on to this, I'll explain that in a second because it's kind of crazy how that one came to be. But effectively, I wrote a song in a day for a week, and that's what Center Sun was, because my need for myself was journaling. I needed to like work through this shit that I was just told by doctors, and like, you know, the news that we got about my mom was really fucking heavy for me. And also in light of like leaving As Blood Runs Black, just this whole like trial and tribulation of this time, it really sent me down a pretty dark hole, man. So I used music like I always do as like a rope to pull me out of that fucking hole. And the songs that I wrote are, if you listen to the record, it's almost like the identical like process of grieving. You know what I mean? There's like denial, there's anger, there's understanding, then there's like the serenity and the peace that comes from being on the other side of it all, right? And that's where Cosmosis is. Side note on this, because I just like remembered this actually kind of recently. I was talking to a guitar student about it. Cosmosis I actually wrote like 2 years prior in a very different format. If any of you guys know Diego Farias from Volumes, I almost said Varials, Jesus Christ, from Volumes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think I said that because his last name is Farias. Jesus. But me and Diego go fucking way back, dude. Like in As Blood Runs Black, I think we took Volumes out like 3-4 times, and he and I would always just like sit in the back and riff, or we would sit in like the trailer and set up a laptop and like work on a song. Like I've never seen someone so fucking dedicated to mastering their craft as that guy. So I just wanted to be around him, even though he was like 3 years younger than me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was unbelievable. He invited me to his house one day to start working on some music. And this was after As Blood Runs Black tour. And I get there and we wrote this song, Cosmosis, sort of in like about a day. I was there from like 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. We wrote through the entire night. And there's actually a true ass story. His dad is a very, 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 very famous producer in Mexico. He's done like some of the biggest, most prolific artists down there. And they have a studio in their backyard that is the size of someone's like very large house. Like it's unbelievable. And next to that, there was a shed that the nefarious boys called Little Amsterdam. That's where they would roll their blunts and smoke their blunts, right? What happened was while we were recording this song, one of his brothers didn't put out like a joint or something all the way, and this shed caught fire.
Oh shit.
And I was the only one to catch it. I was the only one who saw it in the corner of my eye, and everyone was so like fucked up and scared that no one moved. So I got a hose and I put it out before the fire leaped to the studio, which would have been like $5 million lost. Like I don't even know, right? But it was such an unbelievably like awesome and traumatic experience that Diego and I basically solidified, like, we got to do this. Let's start a fucking band together. And I came up with this band name Center Sun. And we tried to make it happen for like a year and a half, and volumes kept picking up as Blood Runs Black kept picking up, until all of a sudden he was like, look, dude, just go and do the Tosin Abasi thing. Take this song, make like an instrumental record with this. Like, you have what it takes. Go do it. And I was like terrified, dude. The only reason I took that leap to try to make this sound is because Diego told me to do so. The only reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now is because Diego and I wrote a song that became a canvas for me to kind of like experiment and develop myself on. So the outro song of Center Sun is a song that I wrote with Diego Farias, who passed away about 2 years ago from an overdose, and it fucking still breaks my heart. And I happen to have my buddy Angel Vivaldi on that track, who he and I did a lot of collaborations beyond that. So it's like, even though it's not the beginning of the song, it's the outro of the song, like that song might be one of the most prominent pieces on the record, because from there, everything was born from, if that makes sense. It was really, really, really a potent track in a lot of different ways.
So that's a crazy story. And I wanted to add a little something. I don't know if you know this, but Diego has also a lot of influence on the Middle Eastern scene. He mixed, mastered, and produced a band from here back in the day called Coat of Arms, and kind of mentored the main guy from Coat of Arms, Bailuni, how he did his productions, and how he wrote and did a bunch of stuff. And now Bailuni's like, anytime you ask him, you know, how did you learn what you do and all that stuff, he says it was Diego, and now Bailuni's producing all this other shit for other bands using those techniques and stuff. So it's kind of crazy,
man. I literally, my whole body is goosebumps, and I could cry if I let myself right now. Like, that makes me so fucking proud of what Diego was able to do. Like, this motherfucker's legacy is insane. Like, and not many people know this, but he was also a platinum producer in other styles. Like, he worked with what the fuck is his name? They did a song called Broccoli. It was a huge fucking like hip hop hit. But he also worked with his dad, helping his dad produce, and actually did win like the equivalent of a Mexican Grammy. Like, he is a award-winning producer at age like 19, dude. It was unbelievable, man. That guy inspired the shit out of me to do everything that I do today. And if he didn't, so I gave him my band's drummer, Fallen Figure. I gave him our drummer, Nick Ursich. He's still Volume's drummer. And I actually, he was asking me if I knew any drummers, because Tosin from Animals as Leaders was looking for a drummer. And I mentioned Nick Ursich, and Diego watched him play drums and just poached him before Tosin could ever find out about him. But that like trade, I think, is a big part of it. Like, me giving him Nick and allowing Volumes to like come back full force was sort of the catalyst that made Volumes and Diego too busy for him to do this with me, which propelled me to do my own thing. And this was after I left Nick Ursich. I hate to say this, but like, I left as Blood Runs Black. I'm sorry, I left Fallen Figure to join as Blood Runs Black, and I left behind two of the most talented musicians I've ever worked with. Carlos Areola, our bass player. He was in a band called Abysmal Dawn a bunch of years ago, and then Nick Ursich, the drummer. And I was always just like, those two guys need to be fucking doing things. Dude, these are throwback videos. This is a different lineup, but
But,
Damn,
let's talk a little bit about Fallen Figure and everything that you guys got to do.
Yo, that guitar is on my wall right now, and that makes that guitar so old. I didn't even realize that. Holy shit. What was it? Jesus, what was your question, dude?
Let's talk a little bit about that. You guys were on a trajectory. You guys put everything into it, and I wanted to point out that you've had this like crazy drive, this crazy work ethic from back then. What was, first of all, what was behind that drive? Where did that come from? And second of all, what was the mentality going into Fallen Figure?
My drive probably came from the fact that very early on, I recognized that anyone doing what I wanted to do was doing nothing that was common, right? So like every fucking common sense saying that you hear from parents, like go to school, get a degree, get a good job, get married, have kids, like all of that shit, that's common ideas coming from common people who do common things and get common results. My entire fucking approach was the opposite. Nothing that I wanted to do was common. So I needed to go like far above and beyond. I needed to create goals that were like extravagantly fucking ridiculous. And then I needed to reverse blueprint all of them so that I had some mapping of how to get there, right? So I recognized early on that success left clues. So I would look at other musicians that were doing what I wanted to do, and I would try to emulate that, right? So like that undying work ethic came from the artists that I looked up to, right? Like, and again, early on, Lamb of God was another one of those bands for me. I would probably say, wow, man, it is so funny watching 16-year-old me try to look cool. I saw Philadelphia early on. That DVD, I probably saw it when I was 15 or 16, and it was probably the thing that was like, that's what I want to fucking do. I need to do that. I'm going to do whatever the fuck it takes to do that. And that's when I made my plea to my high school. My mom was really fucking sick, and I wanted to have a career. So I convinced them. I literally made like a business proposal to my school board to convince them that I needed to go on independent study so that I could have a career in music and take care of my mom. So they developed a program for me, and I was the first student in my high school to be able to do that. And actually years later, I've heard that like it's helped a lot of students at my high school through like drug problems or like pregnancies and like fucked up things. So it's very awesome that like it's actually been helpful for people. Myself, I probably took advantage of the situation because I wanted to fucking get out there. Granted, my mom's sickness absolutely took me out of school, dude. I remember like for months on end just not doing homework because I would go home and just like be dealing with that. Yeah. So there's a little bit of like it was valuable, but to me it was really just to get the fuck out there and start doing Road Warrior runs. So like that show we just watched was in Santa Barbara or Ventura area, which is like 3 hours from where I'm from. So that would be like us driving 3 hours up in the middle of the fucking day, getting up there early, setting up merch, doing the whole fucking like tour feeling thing where you have to like load in, get the fucking merch spread looking good, and this whole entire like approach to things. And that's really where we cut our teeth in how to kind of build this into a business. And backing up a little bit, our vocalist at the time, Sonic, was previously the merch manager of As Blood Runs Black for like a very long time. So his work ethic and business savvy mindset played a pretty big role in the earlier like formative years of me learning how to kind of go about this, how to make a sale at the merch table, how to like upsell at the merch table. Also, do you guys have a place we could stay? Like maybe we could crash at your house. Like this whole entire approach of becoming personable and like sharing these experiences with fans, which really become friends, which really become family later. And that's what I realized turns into like, those are the people that you're making music for. It's for your fucking family. Those are the people that support you endlessly. And I don't mean family. I mean, this may be exposing to anyone who may not want to hear this, right? But like you effectively have absolutely random people who have no idea who you are, and you're going to throw a bunch of fucking content their way, and hopefully you pique their attention and they turn into like a potential fan. And then when they're in that mindset, you throw some more content their way, and you hope that you can get them into being a fan where they're going to like comment and like and maybe like share something, right? And then once they become a fan, you want to get them to be a loyal fanatic, and that's where they're going to buy something. that shift of getting them to buy something is one of the hardest steps to do. But once you get there, all you need to do is then become friendly. Like you make a relationship to where you're like speaking on a first term basis, checking in on each other. And then it creates this family vibe. And that's what creates like a super supportive culture behind what's going on musically. And I've seen this over and over and over again in old school artists and more modern artists. There was an era kind of in between where ambiguity and like being an enigma, like a hooded figure on stage, was way cooler. I'm a super huge fan of remove the fucking barricade. I'm exactly like you. I just have a fucking guitar in my hands on a fucking stage. There's no difference otherwise.
I love. Sorry to cut you off. I love that Lars threw up the tribe emotes there. I want to tell you, we actually call this community the tribe, and you saw just the amount of fucking maniac that goes on here. The support is undeniable, and it's exactly like you said. It becomes I have it tattooed on my rib cage. You don't have to be blood to be family.
Yeah,
it turns into something completely different. Absolutely.
It's so real, dude. Like I full body fucking goosebumps right now. Like it's such a real and tangible thing. Like the second that you get an actual relationship with the people that you're making art for, it makes things so much more real and like tangible. And it's the ultimate, that's my fucking driving force. To answer your question, what's my driving force? It's getting to that point of connection. It's getting to like share my struggles and suffering and like ideas of how I get through it with other people, in the hopes that like my music is a mirror for them to see them, like a reflection of themselves in, which will potentially like let them let something out of themselves, or maybe they'll learn a lesson, or maybe they'll like recognize that they shouldn't be doing what I do. And I'm not even saying anything, right? It's literally notes. There's no words in my shit, but for some reason, dude, I've had people who had no idea what my record was about who contacted me saying that they felt like they had relief or like catharsis through my record. And then I told them what it was about. And then they told me that like their sister was cancerous, or like they lost their father recently. And like the amount of people who contacted me from that record and my second record, we'll talk about that in a moment if you want, but the amount of people who contact me without knowing what it's about, but are hearing exactly what it's about is mind-numbingly crazy.
Isn't that the fucking best one? Like nothing else in the world has that. No fucking group of any kind, no language, no religion, none of that stuff has that connection like music does. Like you're saying, it's a fucking instrumental. You're not even telling them with words what it's about, and people can pick that up.
It's so real, dude. It's so real. I do feel like actual like physical art, like sculptors or paintings or sculptures, I should say, or paintings can emote the same thing. Like it's not language, right? Like I was just watching a documentary last night called Struggle: The Lost Art of Zukalski. Have you ever heard of this before?
I have not, no.
Dude, oh my God. This guy, Zukalski, Stanislaw Zukalski, is one of the most prolific, unknown artists of our entire, like, I think the globe. Do you know Tool's artwork and like Alex, I almost said Alex Jones. It's hilarious. Not Alex Jones. Alex, the guy who does all of the Tool artwork.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember his name, but yeah, I definitely know.
That's so funny. I called him Alex Jones. Now I'm gonna die because I can't remember his actual name. But basically, like, do you know all the artwork in like Gotham City, like the old Batman movies?
Yeah. The like noir looking stuff. Yeah.
Zukalski invented that look. He like created the whole like exaggerated. It's like everything that he makes comes from like another fucking world, dude. And like the second you look at it, your body just reacts. It's fucking incredible. If any of you guys are into art or backstory, like this dude's story is fucking insane. But like basically, yeah, I think it's incredible that art can speak to people who don't understand what you're saying, but they understand exactly what you're saying. There's something very, very beautiful about that, man. It honestly keeps me coming back to my instrument every fucking moment. You know, like what else do I need to find out about myself? What else can other people learn about themselves that they didn't know? It all comes from just the exploration and the discovery that happens with making music, with making art, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. God, that was so well put too.
Well, it was scripted, Lars, dude. This whole podcast is scripted.
It is. I'm the one that's fucking up, you guys. Lars, thank you for that gifted tier 1 sub to Whoops, is that a bear? What an amazing fucking handle. Whoops, is that a bear? Thank you for that.
Nice.
Also, Bayluni is in the house. The guy we were just talking about. Bayluni, we were talking about the late, great Diego. and your work with him and everything that happened with Coat of Arms and stuff like that. So you gotta, if you missed it, you gotta watch the recap.
Diego's the GOAT.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanna dive into a little bit like jumping into As Blood Runs Black, and you guys had a hectic schedule right off the bat. I mean, that band played a lot of shows, and you were there for 8 years, right?
Yeah, like 8-9 years. I don't remember like the exact time frame. I was officially in the band like a year and a half after I was working with the band. There was a while where Lech is the drummer of the band. Lech was having me like record all of the solos and like a lot of the guitar parts. And I was writing lyrics for the record and all this shit before I was in the band. And it was a setup for this guy. No one actually knows this, and I don't know if it's going to be like too much to expose, but there was this guy named Voice Gajic. Do any of you guys remember him? He was a huge YouTube guitar player like 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. But he was supposed to be the lead guitar player of As Blood Runs Black, and he flew out to train for like a month. He was living at our studio, and I was like teaching him all the songs and like helping him like figure everything out. And he literally one day just like fucking left. He literally just quit, left the studio, and went back to Canada and said, "Fuck this." And yeah, and I was like, I'd already decided, no, I don't want to be in As Blood Runs Black. Fallen Figure is my fucking baby. We were talking to Metal Blade Records. Actually, Brian Slagle messaged me personally on MySpace, which was like the craziest fucking thing ever.
Isn't that the best sentence in the world? Like just yeah. Metal Blade Records, MySpace, and Brian Slagle messaging you. It's the ultimate like early 2000s thing.
Oh, dude, there's nothing better than that, man. There's nothing better than that. But I was convinced that like that was my fucking path, dude. And then things didn't really work out. I could go into like details of it and the way that I feel about the way things happened, but effectively, the brighter opportunity for me at the time was joining As Blood Runs Black and leaving my baby behind in a fucking in a basket and sending it down the river. Little Moses joke for you. But basically, like, I do sometimes regret that, but at the same time, I'll say it here first. I'm bringing Fallen Figure back. I'm gonna be doing that myself. Shit. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be doing all of the vocals myself because I realize the name Fallen Figure is singular, and it kind of gives me an opportunity to do band style music, and then I could do with my solo music like solo instrumental style shit. So my plan is to be doing Fallen Figure, bringing it back full fledged, and just doing it with a bunch of other like awesome musicians. I was about to start listing off musicians that I'm working with, but I don't want to do that yet. We'll hold off on
Not
that.
yet.
But I'm going to be bringing that back and bringing like the band presence back to the picture here. But yeah, man, like we'll see where that goes. We'll see where that goes. My head is like trying to make sure I don't say too much about it.
This is the beauty of having a 2-hour conversation. We could sneak things in. We could sneak things in.
Yeah, man, might as well.
Yeah, that's very fucking exciting news. And by the way, for everybody that's joining, everybody that wants to know more about Dan, follow him on different social platforms, all that stuff. !guest in the chat, and you'll get the link right away. So make sure you do that. Go check everything out. There's a link tree. There's a whole bunch of stuff you need to check out. But thank you, Lars. There you go. There's a link in the chat. The As Blood Runs Black thing, because Fallen Figure, like I said, we're on a trajectory, but when you moved on to As Blood Runs Black, that's where like relationships with, the bigger companies started happening, bigger tours started happening. You started traveling a lot more. I think I tried to see like how far the reach was. You guys never made it to the Middle East, but like Jakarta and a couple of Asian countries you guys hit.
We went fucking hard, dude. What were you about to say? I'm sorry.
No. That was it. I was gonna say, like, what was the mindset during that? Because like you said, Fallen Figure was the baby, and then you jumped ship and started rebuilding kind of from scratch, or like putting it into this collective group effort kind of thing. What was the goal there?
Well, I actually, there's this piece of this story that I don't want to skip because it's so fucking ridiculous. It got to a point where after this dude Voice left and didn't want to be in As Blood Runs Black, Lech was just like, look, man, like, you've already filled in for us doing Bamboozle Fest. I don't know if you guys, do you know who Nita Strauss is?
No.
Nita Strauss is now the guitar player of Alice Cooper.
Crazy. Okay.
And was just listed she was one of the 20 most prolific guitarists of our decade in Guitar World magazine, which is just like, wow. What the fuck, Nita? That's insane. But she and I were in As Blood Runs Black together for a small window. But after I decided, like, nah, dude, like, I don't want to do As Blood Runs Black. I'm focusing on Fallen Figure. I got a call from Lech, and he was just like, look, man, like, we want you in the band. Like, think about it for a few days. Let us know what you want to do, and we'll move forward. And I thought about it really fucking hard. I talked to a lot of people who I really, really take their advice seriously. And one of the pieces of advice that I got was take a full day and live with the decision as if you didn't say yes. And completely live in that emotion and see how you feel. And then the next day, completely live in the emotion of if you took the job. And I immediately learned exactly what I wanted to do after I did that. It was a really, really strange thought game for myself to play. Dude, it's so fucked up. In the middle of all of this, when I decided to join the band and then I went to go finish doing all the solos for Instinct, the record, in that time period, I gave myself shingles. Do you know what shingles are?
I don't think so.
Shingles are it's a dormant virus that lives in your spinal cord after you've gotten chickenpox. And everybody has the shingles thing living in their spinal cord in a dormant way if you've had chickenpox. And the only way that it can be like woken up is by like fucking old age and dying, like AIDS, something that's going to like lower your immune system, or stress. I didn't have AIDS and I wasn't 8 years old. Yeah. So I was so fucking stressed by the notion of leaving behind what I thought was like my baby. These are the best musicians I've ever fucking worked with. Like, holy fuck. And then I needed to like drive an hour and a half to a studio every day to go like record these solos while simultaneously feeling like I was cheating on my band before I made the decision. And I gave myself shingles, dude. And it's a giant rash on your whole entire rib cage that feels like fire. It's like blisters that feel like fucking fire. So the whole Instinct record, that if you go back and hear that, all those solos, I recorded with my arm and my shirt not touching my fucking body because I was screamed. Like, dude, I've never been in more pain in my fucking life. So like the physical notion of what I was going through was exactly what I was going through mentally and making that choice, right? It was a gnarly fucking time. But to go back to answer your question, dude, we basically, when I joined the band, As Blood Runs Black was already like a legacy act to a certain degree. When the album Allegiance came out in 2006, the band was kind of thrust into the forefront of like that modern deathcore sound. It was like them, Rob for Cowboy, Black Dahlia, Side Silence. Like these were like probably like the big four of that early deathcore movement, right?
Yeah, that MySpace wave of deathcore. I remember everyone labeled it as the MySpace wave, right?
Dude, what was your top 8, man? Was it?
Who was on your top 8? Yeah, did you move Whitechapel to 6 or what? What did you?
What's going on, dude? That's so funny, man. But we basically were in this era of like, and I'm not gonna say we because I wasn't in the band yet, but effectively, they were such a prominent act at that time that when they lost their main vocalist, they lost one guitar player and then the other guitar player, and in that time period, everyone got this like idea of the band was a revolving door, which was like not true at all. There was a couple fill-ins for a little bit, but the second that I joined, the band was like solid. But effectively, there was like a throne that they were sitting on, and then when they lost their members, they were knocked down 3,000 pegs, like to the super fucking bottom. So that when I joined the band, we had to completely fucking rebuild from absolute scratch. Like no one was into me as a guitar player. No one was into this is a side story. We had a vocalist, I'm gonna actually not say his name just in case he watches this shit, but we had a vocalist in As Blood Runs Black for like 8 months that no one knows about. As Blood Runs Black we called it ABRB Idol. It was like American Idol, but we were trying to find our new vocalist at the time.
Yeah.
We had like 30,000 fucking submissions that we went through, man. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. And we found this dude who we thought was awesome. He had sent us some like lyrics that he wrote for a song, and like the demo audition he did sounded great. And we would go to the studio with him, and he could maybe track 2 lines before his voice would blow out. And he was unable to write his own lyrics. And we found out later that other people were writing his lyrics and all this shit, right? So I wound up having to write his lyrics. This is a true story that I'm about to say that no one fucking knows about. So I wound up having to write his lyrics, and then we went on tour. Actually, skipping this part. I wound up writing his lyrics. He blew out his voice so fucking bad that he didn't come for a few weeks. And then I was secretly tasked with retracking all of his vocals because we were going to hope that he wasn't going to know.
Oh, shit.
So there was a very small window where I was almost the vocalist of As Blood Runs Black, which is like the weirdest fucking thing to consider. I haven't even thought about that since fucking 10 years ago. Jesus. But we went on tour with this dude, and on one of the shows, he was a straight edge guy while we were doing like all of the like 8 months of rehearsal and getting him into the fucking mix of things. And then within like 1 week of being on tour, he became an alcoholic. It was like the weirdest fucking thing, dude. He said like after 3 days, I just can't perform if I'm not shit faced. Like it's just not good. Like, dude, you're 3 days into being in a band. Like this is not this is not a good trajectory you're on, my guy. So there was one night where he was absolutely shit faced, and our drummer Lech, one of the best drummers of that era, right? He was playing so fucking hard that his kick drum or his pedal went through his kick drum. And then we basically were going to call the set. And then our vocalist at the time, super blackout drunk, basically egged on the crowd and Lech to play our song, My Fears Have Become Phobias, which is like the double kick song.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about, right? And
I remember that part where the kick just turns up 16 dB.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane, dude. And the second that song started, like, there was a fight that broke out almost on stage. Like Lech started chewing out our vocalist started chewing out Lech on the mic. It was fucking wild, dude. And that dude walked off stage, grabbed this shit out of our van, and literally just walked he just like left and was just walking around New Jersey. He was probably homeless for a few days until he figured out what the fuck to do. But he literally just grabbed his shit and left. And then we had a few days of not having a vocalist. And then I was like, let's get Sonic, my Fallen Figure vocalist, on board. So we brought him on board, and it was like, it fucking worked perfectly, right? But this was the era where like we looked super unsolid. We couldn't finish our fucking record. People were ready for record 2 after Allegiance because it had been so long, right? The record was done, but now we needed to go back. I needed to rewrite all the lyrics again because I was writing lyrics for Sonic and Fallen Figure as well. It was just so much, dude. So we had this moment where, like, I don't know how to say this other than America lost faith in us. Straight up, we had this thing, like, if we went to go play a bunch of, like, you know, let's go do like a mini California run and see how it goes. Like we weren't getting the same reaction in crowds that we were previously. So this is actually, for any of you guys in bands, this is a very genius approach that I picked up from Lech. We did this with Fallen Figure, and I brought it up, and this is what we ended up doing. But when I was in Fallen Figure, Lech was managing us, and his idea was stop playing local shows. Start playing 2 hours, 3 hours outside so that you create like a hype bubble around your local area so that the next time you do play locally, that like hype has seeped into your local area and it blows up, right? And it worked. Every time that we came back to play like LA, we would like sell out the Whiskey as like a local band. You know what I mean? Like that shit shouldn't happen. So we got this notion that why not look at that exact approach on a global scale? So we avoided playing America, I think, for like 2 fucking years, man. We toured Mexico, South America, Southeast Asia, fucking China, Japan, Russia, like you name it. We played everywhere that band. We were actually the first metal band to ever play on Malaysia. There was actually a book written about us. It was fucking crazy, dude. We basically starved America of what we were doing, so that when we came back and did Summer Slaughter in I think 2012, we had like earned back that trust, and the scene was accepting of us now. We had gone out and proved that this lineup was stable. We proved that the record was fucking solid, and that was the international ridiculous touring drive that we had. Like, let's go. Dude, I remember we flew to Indonesia for a show, and we were there for like 3 days. That's like an 18-hour flight. You're there for 3 days, and then you fly back 18 hours to land to land a day before you left back home.
Yeah. We got a lot of that because the Middle East is just as far, and we got a lot of people that when we do get bands out here, they're like, "Can we stay any longer, please?" We need to check this out.
You need to fucking adjust. Like I can remember we were doing those types of shows often, and it was like some of the most grueling recovery adaptation kind of like periods that we would go through, right? It was tough though, man, but like effectively all of this comes down to having strategy. So the concept that I wanted to just like encapsulate really quickly, the idea is basically starve your like local bubble and go around it to create hype inside the bubble, and then feed that when the time is good, and it creates quite a bit of momentum. Really,
yeah, that's very, very fucking interesting. I actually haven't heard anyone say that before, but it completely makes sense. It completely makes sense. If you burn your local scene out, it's not going to get any bigger, and they're not going to come back.
The interesting thing about that, though, is like there's still pride. Like when they're seeing that you're out doing well, like within X amount of distance, they're like, "Yo, that's a band from here. Like we love those guys." And then they start getting prideful about your success, and then you come back and they want to be a part of it. Right?
Yeah. I remember. I think it was Mark Morton from Lamb of God talking about, you know, they never pulled the crowd in Richmond before people knew who Lamb of God were, and then one time they came back years later after 2 or 3 albums and sold out a show, and he's like, "Wait, where? In Richmond? We sold the shit out? How's that possible?" And they're like, "Because you haven't played here in 10 years."
Yo, that venue, I forget what the fuck it's called. It's in Richmond, Virginia. It's upstairs. There's a giant square hole in the back of the fucking floor.
That's the one. Yeah.
It's terrifying, dude. It's like legitimately terrifying. Like how many people died like that, right? But on my first tour with Ice Nine Kills, we played that venue and sold it out in that exact location. Shit. And I had such a fucking moment, dude, because that was on Philadelphia. Mark Morton talking about that. I remember that like yesterday, man. Those moments, I think, are like the big pieces that keep me fucking moving. Is just like there's goals, and then there's milestones that you hit along the way that propel you to like, all right, what I'm doing is working. I'm going to aim for this milestone now. So many people have their goals so fucking far ahead of them that when they don't hit it, they just fucking give up and develop something else that's new, and they never make movement because they're not willing to work to the milestones because they're only looking at the goal. So like for me, those things kept me fucking going. Like at that time, I was a fill-in still for Ice Nine Kills, you know what I mean? And it made me just be like, yo, this band is fucking insanely awesome. Like our crew is the best crew ever. Our fucking management team is the best management team ever. And those moments like propelled me to care more, try harder, want to inject myself more into the team until it became official. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Man. And I feel like the way you're talking about it, the way even in terms of like management to a degree, just how to get the band more people locally, how to book tours, where to go, and how to push for that. Like being on the road with As Blood Runs Black, there's a ton of hats you were wearing. It wasn't just, you know, the lead guitarist guy.
You have no idea, dude. Yeah. And As Blood Runs Black, I was a driver. I was sometimes we all share the tour managing roles, like, and really in that instance, when you're tour managing yourself, that's really just the settling up that occurs at the end of the show, and sometimes some advancing. But we were at the point where our booking agent would typically advance the shows for us, give us the info we needed, and then the tour managing really was just like make sure there's water on the side of the stage and make sure that settling up occurs at the end of the night. But so like the tour managing hat was something that we wore. Sometimes we had a merch guy. Other times we would be our merch guy, and we would just cycle out and have shifts because other bands would pay merch guys and we would make more money selling it ourselves, right? Yeah. So like, why wouldn't we do that? I was one of the drivers. I was actually the trailer captain. So like I was the guy doing all the Tetris shit. I was basically leading load in and load out. Like me and Greg, the other guitar player, Greg was more of like if an axle broke, like he's under the fucking van, right? And if it was like, so we both kind of filled those roles of just like playing that backbone role whenever we needed to. But As Blood Runs Black was in a position where we only ever did like one bandwagon. No, we did like 2 bandwagon tours actually. But what I'm saying is for like 7.5+ years, we were doing 15 passenger van tours, existing at the level where like we get on stage and the people think that we all are making a ton of money, right? Yeah. So there's this really interesting thing that I want to talk about for a second. The perception that other people have on what you're doing is reality, right? So we started to recognize that we were being seen up here and we were driving into the venue down here. So what we started to play with was this idea called star power. And it's something that we picked up on from, do you know Ash Advolson from Sumerian Records?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So he was our booking agent he was our very first booking agent early on and did that for a bunch of years. And then we started working with Amanda Fior, who is like the replacement of his booking shit so he could focus more on movies and all the shit he's doing now. But on a meeting that we had with Ash when he was managing us, he shared us shared with us something called that he called star power. Star power, the way he explained it, is effectively what I just said. Perception is reality, right? So if you are making X amount of money, let's go ahead and get you guys a fucking bandwagon or a bus so that when you roll into the venue, to all those people waiting in line, they're going to go, whoa, well, they were in a fucking van last time. They must have blown up. And then what they're going to do is tell all fucking 30,000 of their friends or 3 friends, who the fuck cares, right? They're going to go tell all of their friends so that the next time we come back, we could reap the benefits of our investment of losing money on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. And I actually, my band Svengali has done something similar where whenever we did play a show that was a little bigger, a show that had a lot of people, especially in Dubai, because a lot of international acts come here and you get the opportunity to open for really big bands and stuff like that. Right. So we wouldn't, or we would plan not to be the guys on stage, that opening band on our knees plugging our shit in. We would try as hard as possible, get everything set up, call a few friends, go just check that the guitar is working, check that the drums, just go pretend to check the snare, come back out. So we're on there with the intro. And like you said, that gave it a whole different perception where
do they have a guitar tech? Like what?
Yeah, these guys aren't even on stage, man. This is fucking crazy. But it did help us out a lot, especially in those early days where we weren't necessarily supposed to be on that stage, opening for fucking Sepultura or whatever it is, but it gave it that star power, like you were calling it.
Dude, not only were you like, whoa, they're playing with Sepultura. Whoa, they have a fucking guitar tech. Like what that does is it solidifies the perception in people's minds of who they think you are. And then you get to, I don't want to use the word capitalize in a negative way because most people perceive it as that, but you get to capitalize on that. Once your star power or your perception is at a certain level, you could start to exist at that level and your value goes up exponentially. Right?
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing about value, dude, this is something that I'm learning fucking every goddamn day. If you are like, if a band, oh dude, I can't skip this fucking part. This is so important. When I was in Fallen Figure, I remember there was a moment where we were starting to get offers to do like big fucking shows. And I don't know if this is something that was happening in Dubai, but in America, we were doing pre-sale tickets. If you wanted to be on this big show, you had to sell 250 tickets at $20 a piece. Did that ever happen to you guys?
No, we just started getting shows, so we didn't have those that show culture back then. But I know exactly what you're talking about. So
we would start getting these offers where it's like, yo, Suicide Silence is headlining like the Galaxy Theater in Santa Ana. If you guys want to be like 2 of 5 or like 1 of 5 on the bill, you just need to sell this many tickets, and then you like confirm it. You go and meet the promoter, and typically you exchange a down payment to get those tickets, and then you go and sell those tickets, and then you have to pay him the remainder, and if there's any excess, you get to keep it. And that would be your guarantee, which is like a fucking joke, right? Like it's so much fucking work. That's basically a scam for the promoters to like take the work off their shoulders and put it on like the people who are hungrier. What actually happened, dude, is we got this crazy fucking notion, and this was the beginning of me understanding this. We would get offers to sell 250 pre-sale tickets for this, and I would respond on MySpace, oh yeah, no, we're not a pre-sale band. We do shows for $500. And then all of a sudden, we're getting paid $500. Just because I said it completely, like confidently, without it actually ever happening. And the second that they agree to that, that becomes what you're valued at. So what I've learned over time is that anytime that you say like your value, and if someone agrees to it quickly, you didn't ask for enough.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
It's fucking heavy, right?
We have some of the same traits. We have some of the, we used to sign our emails and messages with a fake manager name at the end. It was just us sitting there, dude. But we had a fake manager name.
Our in Fallen Figure, our vocalist Sonic. Oh, what was his name? He created a fake booking agent named George Maroon. he made a whole like email address. He made a whole like website with like his fake clients, and he would like talk shit and be like a mean booking agent to get things done for us. And then he would just he would hang up, change his voice back to Sonic, and then we'd walk into the venue and like the water would be there. It was the funniest shit, dude. Unbelievable. Yeah, dude. And that's the game that you kind of have to play in the beginning. It's sort of like the smile till you laugh, fake it till you make it kind of mentality, right? Like you're playing with perception. And if you're trying to convince people that you're valued at X, show them that you're valued at that, or just fucking tell them. Because if they believe you, you are. Like,
exactly.
It's a crazy thing, man. But trying to circle back here, I think I just went down this tangent of like, I just wanted to give like a little piece of advice in terms of like how to start creating hype in your local area, and also like how to switch or flip the script from like, are you a pre-sale band or do you get paid to play shows? We had a very small window of doing pre-sale because we were immediately perceived as a paid band just because we would say it, right? And by notion of us turning down pre-sale tickets, those promoters would tell other promoters that we won't do it, and then word got out that we were paid for now, and it worked, and it was insane. Like that show that you just showed a clip of, I think was one of our first paid for shows. That's when we started working. We started working with a very particular booking agent who got us on tour with Cattle Decapitation. I was fucking 16 touring with like one of the sickest fucking metal bands of all time. Those things only happened because perception is reality, and we expressed our value and people believed it, right? It's really, really fucking a twisted game, but it's helpful if you can apply it in a way that's healthy.
Absolutely. And there's a ton of people. I know a lot of you guys here in the chat. I could see a bunch of you already. Are musicians, aspiring musicians, or established musicians. There's a lot of people that listen to this on Spotify, on Patreon and stuff that are looking for that kind of advice. So I think this is the perfect fucking clip there. That was the perfect conversation to have. But I'm gonna turn left here because let's do it. Because while all that madness was happening, all that knowledge was being soaked in. You were learning. You were doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do. Traveling the world to play shows. You decided to call it quits. We mentioned a little bit. There was, with your mom and everything that was going on at home and stuff. So you decided that wasn't the road that you wanted to take anymore.
Yeah, man, it was interesting. This was the record release tour for the last album I did with the band, and it's the last record that they've released currently. But I think they've actually started writing some new stuff. I've heard. It was a long time coming, man. Like that record was really, really challenging to write. The record before it, Instinct, I was kind of brought in as like a hired gun to like amplify things, and on Ground Zero, I was like the ground that everything was built on. So I remember writing like 40 plus songs for that record. You know what I mean? Like by myself, and then delivering them to the band and being like, yo, what do you guys think of this one? And they'd just be like, that one's good. This one's too crazy. Let's do this one. So I have so much ABRD style material that I'll like never reveal to fucking anyone because it's like not my thing at all. But effectively, dude, it got to a point where, like I said, it was ironically, man, it was the very last show that we played on this tour. It was a hometown show at Chain Reaction in Anaheim, California. And it was fucking such a fucking night, man. My girlfriend came out, she drove our car to the venue and parked it, and like met me. I got the call from my dad. My mom's brain tumor's back. She's got a few months to like live. And then my car got towed. And then I had to go, and then I had to play this show, and like our bands had all of its like friends from like its childhood came because it was a local show. So all these fucking drunk asshole piece of shit idiots were literally standing on stage like as if they were in the band while we're performing. And I just remember like being like this, trying to like play parts, and I was just like, you know what? I'm fucking done with this. Like I remember while I was performing making the decision, and I quit like the next day. But I remember like that was such a telling moment, dude. Like wasn't happy on stage, felt like I needed to be home, had all these ideas of like a solo record I wanted to write, and my mom needed me. So I made the choice like almost right then and there during that performance that I didn't really want to fucking do this anymore. And it's absolutely what propelled me to like really, really, really lean into myself and not rely on fucking anyone again. And something that I want to kind of point out here that may be helpful to some of you guys, maybe not. Again, early on, going on the whole like common people, common fucking results thing I was talking about, I recognized that having like a backup plan, like a plan B, is one of the worst ideas in the fucking world for someone who wants something that's uncommon and like kind of a wild goal, right? Having a backup plan means that I'm going to half-ass something. So like for years and years and years, I remember when I was 17 and joining at Blood Runs Black, my dad was like, look, man, if this isn't successful for you by 18, you're going to college.
Yeah.
And like, and how do you quantify success in a band, especially a metal band? I'm like, Dad, we have 3 million playlists or 3 million MySpace plays. Like we're so big. What are you talking about? He's like, you can't send that to the bank. The bank doesn't take MySpace plays. Like what are you going to do about it? Right. So I recognized that plan Bs will completely distract me from plan A. Right. So if I wanted to be like a lawyer, like my fucking family wanted me to be, I would have had to study my ass off. I wouldn't have been able to practice those 15-hour days. I wouldn't be able to do fucking anything. So for me, I recognize that it's about having plan A, plan A2, plan A3, plan A4, plan A5. Everything is still a plan A thing, right? So I left as Blood Runs Black and was like, oh no, my identity, I don't have a band. Guitar is what sent me here. Making music is what sent me here. I'm going to go and make my own fucking solo record. I'm going to go and make sure that anything else that I need to do to make money, there's a guitar in my hands. And I'm going to go fucking help people understand how to play guitar and find that same love that I have for the instrument. And those are my like plan A, plan A2, plan A3. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So basically, it made me have a guitar in my hands no matter what the fuck I did, so that I was at whatever degree of happiness that I could have at that time, I was happy or satiated with what I needed to do and what I was developing and working towards. So effectively, like, I see so many people fucking themselves out of the gate just because they're afraid of failure. And that fear of failure, for me, propels me to work harder. And it usually makes other people work less hard because they'll make a backup plan, which makes them feel safe. I like that fear. I like to feel like I'm on a tightrope, and if I fall, I'm dead. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no room for failure.
On this channel, we say we dive headfirst into the concrete and smile on the way down. Just I know exactly where I'm supposed to be. It's gonna suck for a while, but I'm just gonna go for it, balls to the wall kind of thing.
Dude, I say this to all of my fucking students, and it's like one of the most painful things to hear. But if you're not willing to eat shit for 10 years, get into something else.
Yeah.
Like just now in my life, dude, like I'm just now within the past like 2 years, like I'm like, okay, I'm feeling really comfortable with everything that I've like worked towards and earned. And like, I see myself now on the platform that I wanted to like a decade ago. And now it's about getting to the next one. I'm just now there, like from 2009 when it started at the professional level, when it really started at 2006, when I started Fallen Figure, right? So it's like, are you willing to do that? If you're not, have a plan B, but just understand that music will probably be a hobby, and then you'll have a job.
Face the sun and the shadows fall behind you, right?
Did you know that I say that, or did you just say you motherfucker? Yes. Face the sun and the shadows will fall behind you, man. Joan of Arc, dude. It's a fucking heavy quote, right?
Hell yeah.
Super heavy quote, dude. Like, and that's another big part of it, man. Like, I didn't go to college from high school. When I went to independent study, I started touring full time from there. So I'm not scholastically educated, but I've educated the shit out of myself and the things that I'm interested in. I dive so fucking deep into. So like psychology, pedagogy, like the way that we teach and how we explain stuff to our students, like neurology, like there's so many things that I'm deeply fucking interested in that like it's at the level of someone that maybe would have gone to school, but it's like I didn't need someone to tell me what order to do it in, how to approach it, how to absorb it. So everything that I've come up with in like the years since then is really like natural, and it comes out of me like organically. And that's why I feel like to a certain degree, like what you said earlier, I exist on like the theory realm, but I'm also doing improv a lot, because to me, art can't be technique based, right? So like just the connection of that allows you to like move forward and knowing that you're making art and not a fart, you know?
And that's the clip we're going to use for Instagram, you guys. Out of everything you just said, all the fucking knowledge you dropped, that's the one we're going to clip.
Fart.
So all of that kind of funneled into the album. I've heard you talk about it before, it was released and after it was released, and I feel like you legitimately funneled emotion and circumstance. That's another thing you talked about into this album. And let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about Inside Out, and let's talk about what that meant at that time for you, because that's a huge one.
Yeah, it's one of the heaviest things for me, like in its entirety, dude. Like that record, Center Sun came out, and like my mom. Oh wow, yeah, that's great. Okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna fucking say this because it was real. Doctors gave up on my mom. We were doing a bunch of crazy fucking treatments. My mom had stage 4 glioblastoma. It's one of the most deadly, fatal, fast progressing fucking brain tumors. And she was in the 0.1 percentile of survivors, because at this point she had it for almost 10 years, right? Which is insane. Most people die within the first year of that. The doctors gave up and gave us that expiration date. And I quit the band, went home, and went on these crazy fucking research escapades. And I found something called RSO. It's Rick Simpson oil, and it is a concentrate of cannabis. And my mom had 2 years with us after I put her on that regimen, and I was giving it to her every fucking day. And she was with us for 2 years. Her brain tumor shrunk 35%, and it wasn't supposed to happen like that. You know what I mean? So like because of that, I was able to have more time with my mom. Man, I'm sorry. I'm in my head now thinking about these last couple of years, but like that wouldn't have happened, man. So like, had I been super fucking schooled, had I been like super on like the law world, I probably wouldn't have even looked into like the underground world of like medicine, right? This dude, for anyone who cares, this dude, Rick Simpson, I believe he's from Canada. And he himself was suffering from a bunch of shit like diabetes and heart disease. And he went on his own regimen and healed himself of this. And then he started giving it to a bunch of people in his local area in Canada. And people were getting healed of like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, like blood disorders, like all this crazy fucking shit. And then the Canadian government threw him in jail because of it. And I think right before he went into jail, he like released the recipe of how to make it, and it proliferated across the globe, and it's become like this underground treatment for a lot of different things. Like children use it for like epilepsy. Some children use it for like autism. It's unbelievable, dude. But effectively, like me taking that leap of faith and quitting the band, me taking a leap of faith and trying this with my mom, gave us a lot more time together. And I now don't even know the question I was answering, dude. What was your actual circumstances and how this shit happened? Right. So I basically had released Center Sun, was going through all of this shit, elongated this time with my mom, and I decided to try something that I'd never seen before. There was this new website called Patreon. And this was in like 2017, probably 16. And I started a Patreon page with the notion of releasing one new song every month. You could watch me create the song. You could get tabs of the song. I'd make a playthrough of it. I would be doing a collaboration on every song, and I would have like a podcast type interview with my collaborator. Behind the scenes, like footage of us making the song. It was this giant, like different tiers of things you could be a part of. And I was the first person on Patreon to use it to release music. And they contacted me, and they like started pushing my Patreon, which is really fucking cool. And I got some really, really awesome numbers on Patreon, and actually was a big part of me being like, okay, I could make a living off of music, I think. Yeah. And I was like 5 songs in, and my mom's brain, everything took a turn for the worst. And on the 6th song, she passed away in the middle of the 6th song. And I took 2 days to like get away from the fucking song. And then on the 3rd day, I decided that I wanted to finish all the leads for the song, all the solos and the leads and shit like that. So the last song on my record, Inside Out, has like this mixture of me feeling like my mom's about to die, and then actually like the emotion of she's not here anymore. And that song is impossible for me to listen to. Yeah. And that record as a whole, because it was the process. It was like the 6 months leading up to my mom dying. I wrote a song in each month, and it was my entire fucking focus, dude. Like it took me it took me away from really what was going on in my house, dude. Like we had to fucking care, and we actually had to have like a hospice caregiver there to take care of my mom because she was now unable to talk, unable to move. She was paralyzed in a hospital bed. We had to like feed her and shit. It was like the most terrible shit in the fucking world. But I locked myself. Weird enough. My brother left college, and I took his old bedroom as my studio, which was in our downstairs area at our house. And I wrote Centric Sun in that room. And then when my mom became paralyzed and she couldn't at all get upstairs to her bedroom, that became my studio became her bedroom. And then her bedroom became my studio. And I wrote Inside Out in the exact spot where she slept for my entire life. And then she died in the exact spot that I sat and wrote all of Center Sun. It was like, I don't know what the fuck kind of portal we opened up with that, man, but I feel like there was something that I was like siphoning off the entire fucking time. But effectively, man, like that record, Inside Out, I sat on it for like a year and a half or 2 years because I couldn't fucking do anything to get myself to release it, right? Like I couldn't even get myself to finalize like the stems to send out for like a final like release. Until I finally got the balls to do it when I joined Ice Nine Kills, because the second I stepped on stage again and I saw how much this band was helping people heal, I remembered what I got into music for. Yeah. And I decided to push my own emotional garbage aside and look at that as another form of catharsis that I'd been missing out on for fucking 2.5, whatever the fuck years, right? So when I released that record, I believe it was in 2019 now, the end of or beginning of 2020, I didn't even remember. It was unbelievable for me, man. I released it on my birthday, and the outpouring of love that I got really, really, really solidified my need to be in the music scene again. Because like for those years in between that, for those 2 years where I couldn't release this record, I was just focused solely on giving guitar lessons, man. I was sort of just like, you know what? Like that was a part of my life. Fuck it. I'm going to do this, right? And I actually, in that time, there's bits and pieces we're sort of missing here, right? But in that time period, I also decided that like I wanted to implore my entrepreneurial mindset and connect it to all of my like music teaching approaches and concepts, to where I started a music company with, I'm not even gonna say the fucking dude's name because worst guy ever, but I trusted him so much that he and I got a house together in Texas right after my mom died. My dad decided to sell my childhood home. And I moved to Texas to start this company with this dude, and it wound up being the worst thing in the fucking world, dude. Like I did everything, he did nothing. It became a very, very, very like aggressive household setting, based on just like he had a lot of like psychosis shit that I didn't know about, and he just hid it from me completely. And it got to the point where he just up and left, and I was living in this huge fucking house that we had got together. It was a 5-bedroom house, dude. I was one fucking person living there in a 5-bedroom house, paying for it myself for no fucking reason, for about a year and a half, 3,000 miles away from any of my family or friends. And I just went into the most depressive state I ever fucking have been in, man. It got to the point where I was like planning the end. Do you know what I mean? And it got so bad that on like a random like YouTube search of things that are dark, I stumbled on this guy called Wim Hof. Have you ever heard of Wim Hof before?
No, I haven't.
Wim Hof is this guy from the Netherlands who discovered this breathing technique semi on accident and semi by combining a bunch of training he had had in his life. But it's basically a mixture of like breath work, cold exposure, and mindset training. But effectively, like I stumbled on this breathing exercise, and within 2 or 3 days, I had like completely come out of my depressive state. And I completely came out of my suicidal, all of that shit that was going on, and started to focus really, really heavily on bringing myself back to life and like focusing on playing guitar and writing music for me again and all these other fucking things. And in that time period, I started to focus heavily on like meditation. Are you anyone here into meditating?
Anybody in the chat, put a little hand emote in there.
I hope I'm not the only one here. Meditating is fucking lifesaver. But effectively, I went on these really, really heavy meditations, and some of the things were like, you know, focus on a moment in your life where you felt the most powerful. And I'm sitting there meditating, and I see myself on stage in Jakarta, And then like the next day, like think of a moment where you felt the most in control. And I'm like meditating and I see myself on stage in Hawaii, or like ridiculous things, right? And over and over and over again, I'm being asked to evoke a time that I felt the best. And every time I did it, I was seeing myself on stage. I legitimately came out of a meditation one day to a message from Spencer Charnas asking if I wanted to audition for Ice Nine Kills. Like,
wow,
completely unprovoked, completely like wasn't even fucking looking at that. And the only other thing that I want to add to this, which is very fucking funny, and all of you guys can say, fuck you, you foofy new age asshole, but I believe I accidentally fucking co-created this opportunity for myself. My old roommate, the dude who's like, the name I will not say, his girlfriend, she had a dog and a daughter, and a son. He and I were paying for the house. It was the fucking workplace. We had a room for a studio. We had like a media room, and like we had an office center. And he told her to live at the house because she needed a place to live, and it became her fucking house, right? Her favorite band in the fucking world was Ice Nine Kills. I had never heard of the band in my life before this. Every piece of merch she had was Ice Nine Kills merch. Every morning I'd wake up to Ice Nine Kills blasting in the house. There was posters all around the house now of Ice Nine Kills. So I'm sitting there thinking of the most like best I felt in my life while simultaneously dealing with these fucking assholes downstairs, and the name Ice Nine Kills is like constantly being flushed in my mind. And then all of a sudden I get this offer from Ice Nine Kills. Felt a little bit strange, right? And and then to eventually be a poster that's on her wall in front of this guy is like such a fucking awesome bit of like revenge.
That's isn't that the best fucking middle finger you can have? Isn't that the best one?
I hope to God that I made her hate this band because that's hilarious. But it was just such. But
no, I was gonna ask how much of this kind of mentality did you have before? Because I know like the breathing techniques, for example. I heard you talk about is it Shni? Is that how you pronounce it? Shini?
Xingyi.
Xingyi. It's a martial art. Your uncle teaches it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you talk about a bunch of like breathing techniques that you used with for that. Is that related, or are we talking about like meditation kind of? What's the term when you like? There's a word for it. I'm blanking on it. The Secret, that book has it.
Manifesting.
Manifestation. That's the one I was looking for.
And that's the word that I don't want to fucking say, because the second that you say it, people have connotations to that, right? Let me see. All right. If anyone is interested in the science behind what the fuck is going on inside of meditation and inside of what manifestation actually is, which is really collapsing quantum realities into your reality, get this fucking book. It explains everything. It explains everything in such a degree that's terrifying. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. This book is fucking insane, dude. But effectively, Xingyi is a mixture of martial arts, breathing exercises. It is mindset training. It is a lot of that stuff, but it's more of a martial aspect with a lot of health benefits that come from it. I'll say this really quickly because it's very fucking interesting. I started Xingyi when I was like 15, maybe 16, and I was 340 pounds. Within 6 months of doing Xingyi, I was down to like 180, 160 even. Like it literally cut my body weight almost in half. And it wasn't through me exercising tremendously or like fucking starving myself. In fact, I was eating more than ever, right? It was the fact that energetically speaking, my body just like got healthy and like corrected itself and went back to the shape that it was supposed to be effectively. But that was through like my entire childhood trauma. Like we bypassed this too, but my dad had like a ridiculously near-death heart attack when I was 9. And then on my bar mitzvah, I kind of bypassed this. He had a second heart attack actually at my bar mitzvah.
Oh, shit.
So there's like my whole entire life has just been like slowly watching my parents on the verge of death. You know what I mean? So like and my mom was a professional chef. So I ate myself into oblivion. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was a big fucking boy. So like that trauma and me like putting on this blanket weight to like make myself feel safe and comfortable, that shit all shed the second I started Xingyi. Xingyi is more of like a physical alignment thing. Meditation is more of like a mental alignment thing. And then this Wim Hof breathing exercise is sort of all of it together, and it's a completely separate thing. It's more of a hermetic therapy. as in hormones. What we do with Wim Hof breathing is effectively flush the body with cortisol, adrenaline, and all the stress hormones to basically train your body on how to deal with it. And then the next step is flushing your body with like dopamine and fucking serotonin and oxytocin and all these good drugs that make you feel like connected and like happy and loved and all these things, right? And it takes like 5 minutes to do. And I do it every fucking morning, followed by a cold shower. And when I'm in the cold shower, I'm just like focusing on certain things to think about. And it is the most prominent thing in my day that like makes sure that I have a solid day. When I don't manage to get a breathing session in, I feel a different level of anxiety just at the background throughout the entire day. But to sort of just answer your question, Xingyi is like a 2,500-year-old internal martial art that comes from pre-communist China. My uncle is a sifu, a technical sifu, which means father teacher. And to be father teacher, you need to be a master of mind, body, and medicine. My uncle didn't really master the medicine part, but he basically earned the term sifu from his sifu. Yeah. His sifu was this guy named Kenny Gong. And apparently there's legend goes that Bruce Lee actually learned a little bit of shit from Kenny Gong, and Xingyi is actually infused in some of the shit that Bruce Lee does, which is kind of fucking cool. But my uncle, Stu Charno, he also is an actor. He was in like Friday the 13th and a bunch of X-Files movies and a bunch of shit that's like my band Ice Nine Kills is a horror band, and we do trivia for our VIP sessions. And the amount of times that my uncle is actually a part of the trivia is fucking like weird, dude. It's like very strange that he's infused in horror stuff. But effectively, in like the 70s in New York, he was a really, really fucking sickly guy, like super scrawny, asthma, a bunch of lung problems. And he literally stumbled on this guy named Kenny Gong, who was, I think, like 30 at the time and had just moved from China to America to start teaching this shit. And my uncle just started learning from him very early on and trained with him for like about 30 years until Sifu passed away. And my uncle continued to do that until his multiple sclerosis became too much to bear with, which happened very recently. This is a crazy fucking side note. My uncle had multiple sclerosis about 20 years ago. And I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a fatal disease that your brain basically eats away at itself until your motor skills and your like everything dissolves. My uncle was found to have 7 lesions in his brain, went into a meditative state for a few days, came back for another MRI. I think like a month later. I don't think you can do him that quick, but he had healed himself of those 7 lesions completely. Like, wow, that's medically unheard of. So he was supposed to be like wheelchair unable to move 20 years ago, and he's now, today's actually his birthday, dude. This is very interesting. I have a Zoom call with him later today to chat with him, but he's just now at the point where he needs like help to live, right? Like he has someone living with him to help him like move around and eat. But it was 20 years of him being like a physical fucking beast, dude. Like we had during Xingyi classes, we had NFL trainees coming in to like learn Xingyi from him, because there's nothing more potent about the way that you learn to root yourself in the ground with Xingyi. So like ways to connect to the ground, just have your gravity in control. So we would have like 6'10" huge motherfuckers, like linebackers, come in and stand toe to toe with my uncle, and they would try to push him off balance, and my uncle would just not move and then like throw these fucking 400-pound guys. Like unbelievable shit, man. So like the stuff that this could do, and this, my uncle was still very sick at this time, right? Like he still had multiple sclerosis and it was affecting him, but he could still make a fucking 26-year-old beast go flying and not move if they try to push him. It was unbelievable, right? So like that training taught me a whole lot of stuff in terms of physicality and some mindset approaches that I still use for guitar lessons. But that wasn't necessarily like the medicine for me. That's more of like a maintenance thing. Medicine, the daily thing that I look for is Wim Hof and meditations. Those things for me. Wim Hof is a breathing exercise that feels like a meditation, and meditation is truly just that, an actual form of meditation. And lately I've been using an app called Headspace, which is very fucking helpful. If any of you guys have ever heard of it, it's just a really, really simple, quick way to do it. If I don't have a lot of time to go into my own self-driven meditations, I'll just toss this on for like 10 minutes and go on this guided meditation from Headspace. And they're fucking super, super helpful for me staying in control of my day, which is to say in control of my life, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of those things. I have the fucking app on my phone that I've never used. I'm riddled with anxiety and depression, and I have a bunch of pills that are supposed to take care of that. And I see a lot of people in the chat talking about meditation, why they don't, it didn't necessarily work for them, and Anita saying about anxiety and depression. All you guys, if you want, we do have an amazing community over on Discord, and we have a very exclusive place called Safe Space, where if you want to talk about things openly and have them disappear, we actually created a channel where you can either jump in voice or text, talk about whatever you want to talk about, and then once you're out of that channel, everything disappears. It's just a little safe space for everyone to share their thoughts and stuff. And I need to look more into that, because I need Dude, something a little more grounding, like you said.
So I'm seeing a lot of people say that they just have a hard time like sitting down to do it because they're thinking too much. This is going to be like the most bullshit thing to say, but those are the people who need it the most. If you feel like you don't have time or can't sit down to do it, like that is the person who needs it most. And then the second thing is, so many people have this connotation that meditation means like there's no thinking that goes on in your mind. It's the opposite. You're literally trying to just separate from it so that you can see the thinking. I'm here and the thinking goes by and I go, oh, I see you, and I let it go by. And anytime that I get sucked into being like, oh man, my lesson's later today, and I'm meditating and I'm starting to think about like things I'm gonna do, I literally go, come on back, buddy. You got this, come on back. Like I talk to myself like I'm a 4-year-old kid, because the person that's animating this shit, or that's actually like living my life, versus the body that's like feeling things, this is a fucking dumb child. And this is the thing that's controlling things, right? So by me learning how to talk to myself as if I'm like taking care of someone who needs to be taken care of, like, it's all right, dude, you can think about that. Come on back, bud. That thing allows me to not get super fucking heated, because when I was trying to meditate years earlier, that would happen and I would go, oh, I fucking lost it. I would open my eyes and stop meditating. But now I recognize that the more that happens, that's a chance for me to disconnect and let like water go under the bridge. Like I'm literally watching the water flow by me instead of getting sucked into like a fucking cup that's floating on the water. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's really what it is. It's like the recognition that as cloudy as you might be in your head, the blue sky is always behind those clouds. And you just need to kind of fucking find it and find a way to allow it to come to fruition. You know what I mean? Bring it to the forefront. And it really, to me, comes from having an easier relationship with yourself and not beating yourself up too much. Like me sitting there and seeing that and go, fuck, God damn it. And then I get up and I'm like, it's so much easier to do that. Right. And that's where this becomes a mental training that bleeds into or permeates into everything you do in your day. That being okay with like making a small mistake, recognizing it and then correcting it instead of getting consumed in the mistake and spiraling, which is also what I used to do. My anxiety and my depression was 100% based on that. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, dude, it's that's been a really, really helpful thing, is just learning to be okay with seeing thoughts and then get better at just letting them go by instead of move with them. If that helps anyone, I hope it does.
Absolutely. Trill Amadude. What's up? Welcome.
Trilla Madude.
Trilla Madude. There we go. There we go. I fucked that one. Thank you for being here, man. And glad you're enjoying the show. But like you said, Dan, there's this weird pattern where we go back to that spectrum where something very bad happens, followed by a door that opens somewhere else. Stuck in a 5-bedroom house trying to figure out what the fuck to do, and then meditating and getting a call or a message from Spencer. Let's talk a little bit. Thank you for that follow. Let's talk a little bit about that day. Pick up your phone, you get a message. You've heard Ice 9 Kills blasting because your roommates loved it. What was that like?
It was interesting, dude. I was in a place where like my whole entire focus was embracing things that I was afraid of. I wanted to like anything that made me go, oh fuck. Like me getting that text made my body go, oh shit, I'm not ready. And the second that I felt that, I was like, I need to lean into this. I need to embrace the suck. I need to fucking lean into things that I'm afraid of, because every time that I've stepped into what I'm afraid of, I get to the other side and I go, that was what the fuck I was afraid of? That's it? I could do that shit whenever. And every time that I've done that, I've just become like a stronger version of myself. So I said yes even though I probably shouldn't have, because like I was going through my shit still, but I said yes, and I immediately sat down, learned 3 songs, sent an audition tape in within a day, and I think within 2 days, like he was like, "Yo, everyone in the band, management team, like no one expected that you'd get it to us this quick, and we're down. Let's do it." So then I took the next like 2 weeks to learn all of the songs from just like YouTube. Like there was no tabs, no covers or playing it correctly. No offense to anyone. And I literally just had to use my ear, and I spent those 2 weeks learning everything before getting flown out to Boston to start rehearsal for a 3-month tour. After being after being off tour for like 3 years, my first tour back was 3 months straight. It was awesome, dude. It was awesome. And like the fear of like getting everything down and like stepping into a band again, where like I had felt like I lost that connection of how to exist in a band because things got so fucked in the end of As Blood Runs Black that it was weird, but I was immediately accepted, and they all became like my best friends within like 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? Like I got picked up by Joe, our bass player, who I then lived with, and we both moved to LA together. Like after I moved away from Texas, I got a house with Joe. Like dude, the connections that I have with everyone in this band are just so strong. It's the best feeling ever to have that family thing again, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, from like I found out about the band back in like I think 2015 or 2014 when everything was popping off, and not a lot of people in the Middle East actually knew them at the time, and everything was starting to explode. Texas Star 86, thank you for the follow. And just from like industry people talking here and there, I was trying to figure out if we can fly them to Dubai back in the day and try to see if I can introduce the band to more people. And just from people talking around, they're like, yo, their work ethic is fucking crazy. Like these guys work hard. Dude. And I can imagine like coupling what we just talked about, that entire timeline, and then getting that text, you know, 3 days later, you're already rehearsing for a 3-month tour. I think, I don't know, how did that synergy just kind of happened? I can imagine.
Yeah, dude, it felt very fucking natural, dude. And like, I sort of made the joke about this before, but like my uncle, his whole entire career was based off of like horror films. So for me to be like the next generation who was then like thrust into this like horror themed metal band who sings songs about Friday the 13th, like the movie my uncle was in, like it felt right, man. And the irony behind it is I'm terrified of horror movies, dude.
Well, no, but I heard X-Files was a big part of the upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, X-Files is fucking dope, man. I wouldn't call that horror. That's like a edge of your seat mind fuck, right?
Sci-fi. All right.
Yeah. He did. I think there was 2 or 3 episodes he did, and he played different characters, and they're all pretty legendary episodes. One of them was he was a murderous bellhop, the guy who like gets your luggage at a hotel.
Yeah.
That episode was pretty fucking sick, and he was actually really good friends with David Duchovny and fucking Jim. He was in a movie with Jim Carrey, Once Bitten. So he was like still friends with all these fucking big actors and shit. So it's just cool to have like that connection. But I was effectively thrust into this band, this horror band, and it felt like it's a part of my DNA in a fucking weird way. And almost to the degree that like when I was 7, my brother was watching Pet Sematary, and I walked in on like the scene where the kid is under the bed and slices the dude's Achilles tendon. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Straight up sent me to therapy. Like I, for years, was going to therapy because that shit fucked me up so bad. And then when I was like 10, I was again doing a sleepover, and my brother and his friends wanted to watch The Exorcist, and that shit happened to me again. Like I could still see Reagan's face in my head right now, and I'll have nightmares tonight because of it. You know what I mean? Like
which is absolutely crazy that you're in this band, because even the live shows, like I'm putting up a little bit of the live show here. You guys, this is a show. This isn't it's a live band. It's a full theater. I remember Julian and I do these reaction videos, and we did one of a rainy day, and it's a full fucking blown movie. It's not. Dude. It's not. You guys don't do like little things. So the guy that doesn't like horror necessarily is on stage with your singers holding a knife right there.
Dude, but here's the thing, man. What I've realized, and in doing, like, I've been a part of scenes in these things that are like, Like I'm getting my makeup done and I look over to like Ricky, who's also getting his makeup done, and I'll scream. I'll be like, dude, don't look at me. You're fucking terrifying me right now. And then I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, like every time I've been afraid on camera, there's like some dude in makeup who thinks it's funny, but then they go on camera and it's terrifying to whoever's watching, right?
Yeah.
So like and like also I've like seen how like a beheading thing is like filmed, and I know that like what goes into it, and now like when I see these things in movies, I know what the fuck it is. Like obviously when you see a scary movie, your whole life you know it's fake, but I now know how it's made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I will never eat a hot dog again because I know how hot dogs are made. Right?
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
And also I'm vegan, so that helps. But like my point is that the second I knew how the horror films are made, like I enjoy them now. You know what I mean? Like our bass player Joe got me into a different type of horror film that's not like jump scares and getting like your fucking foot cut off and shit that's just like gory and gross. He showed me things like The Witch and like Hereditary and Mother and like fucked up psychological horror movies that like I love that shit. That stuff's awesome. But as far as like Freddy Krueger's hand coming through your chest like when you're sleeping in bed having a nightmare used to fuck me up, and now I recognize like what they did to get that shot. The fact that it wasn't even fucking Robert Englund under the couch. It was probably some girl who was just being a fucking body for the shot. Like, like I know what's going into the scene, so like it takes some of that away, and it makes me actually enjoy it as a creator. And like honestly, I just spent a whole day, not too long ago, a few days ago, shooting my own version of this for something else, where I turned this entire space, I turned it into a Dexter kill room. The entire thing was covered in plastic, and I had fucking blood spatters everywhere, and I'm basically getting tortured and murdered. And like, I wrote this script, I shot this script, I directed it, I'm editing it. It's like, what the fuck happened to me? You know?
The influence this band has had has already exceeded everything that's done before.
It's real, man. It's really, really fucking powerful, because what I've recognized that this band has done so genius is the world of 1 + 1 = 3. A lot of you guys are probably going to hear me. A lot of people are going to go, this guy can't do math for shit. What I mean by 1 + 1 = 3 is that your mother plus your father equals you. This individual and this individual together create something that is completely unique to those two things, right? So like in my mind, when I'm writing music, I'm trying to play this fine line of fresh and familiar. Like if I can find a way to do something you've never heard, but you simultaneously feel like it's nostalgic, then I fucking won, because you're not going to understand why you already love it, right? So that's like that's a personal equation that I like to play with. But what this band does is they infused diehard metal fans and diehard horror fans and fused it together to create this culture that like other bands have played with, but it's not exactly like our thing, because it's a little bit like there's an air of campiness to what we do, right? There's an air of comedy, like it's fun and funny to do what we do, instead of like a horror band where everyone's like, we're serious about being scary. Do you know what I mean?
That's I tried to explain that. I had such a hard time trying to explain that, because I tried to explain like they're a horror metal band. They have clean vocals and screams, and it has that modern metal thing. People came back and they're like, so like Iced Earth kind of thing. Like I was like, no, it's completely different. It's not Horror Show by Iced Earth. You just, and then I resorted to trying to explain it and say like, imagine a Disney a soundtrack, but it was fucking metal and it was about horror. Like that's the only way I could have explained it. But I love that. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, and then I think you guys you're like adding more vocals on stage now. You're doing there's a whole bunch of stuff that come with the job. It's not just a lead guitar player.
Oh yeah, man. It's been fucking awesome, dude. Like I remember when I got the offer to join the band, and I remember just being like talking to Spencer, like, dude, like you are such a fucking good writer. I hope that I get to the point where like I could help you guys write the next record that you guys do. And it got to the point where it was like I was a really big part of that, right? And the way that we go about our shit is so unique and so fucking ridiculous on where we land with stuff that I'm constantly enamored with the process and like where these fucking crazy concepts come from, man. And the execution, that's It's a nice horror word to use, but the execution of what this shit of what we do is something that I feel like is pretty unique to us, because it's coming across as like badass, scary, funny, approachable, runaway. Like it's there's like this dichotomy or contrast in everything we do that I think is like it's awesome to be a part of, man. Like I cannot wait for people to hear this fucking record that we have coming out next month. It's fucking awesome. I'm so stoked on it, dude.
Dude, even the stuff that's like on the website where you like find different clues, put them together, get a code for the like all that stuff is just the nerd in me. I'm just like I'm super stoked on that stuff.
Yeah, dude. It's like how can we make everyone feel like super fucking included and like they're figuring out things and putting pieces together, but simultaneously we're delivering them what they expect, but they're figuring it out as it happens. Like there's this very, very, very genius thing. And I'm saying this completely disconnected because like I'm not the marketing team, right? Like I write the songs, I play the songs, I'm a part of the fucking look and the brand and shit. But the genius of what goes up behind the scenes with our team is something that I kind of mentioned before. Like I am so honored to work with the people that work with us inside of the band itself, our immediate crew that like tours with us, and the entire team around that helps us do what we do is like such a fucking honor, man. Because I've come from having no one in Fallen Figure to having people in As Blood Runs Black that were like working against us to now having this, which is just like, man, it like re-sparked my belief and hope in the industry, to be completely frank, man. It did. It's
fucking crazy. It's amazing to see, and I also think that like you took all of that, and that's where all the solo stuff is going. And I want to talk to you about this because what it takes to be a musician in this day and age is not just being good at your instrument. Your social media. You're doing all these crazy ass giveaways. Where there's so much behind it. Even the YouTube channel. It is something that you put time and effort into. So all of those lessons, all of those years of working with, even including Ice Nine Kills and everything you guys have been through, kind of made this Dan that we see today. The question is, what from everything that you've gone through, do you think is the biggest lesson so far into building who you are as a guitarist and as a brand? I know that word gets frowned upon most of the time in the metal circles, but as a brand,
learn how to value yourself and learn how to bring more value to the table for other people. I would say that's the biggest piece of advice. If you can recognize what you have to offer, then you could say, here's what I'm worth. Here's what we're going to do. Basically it gives you a place to express what the fuck you would like to do without having to be like a puppet on a string from above. Right. So like, if you can value yourself, you have boundaries that people around you will understand how to operate with. And then simultaneously, by bringing extra value to the table, more opportunities come your way. Right.
Absolutely.
The second you're perceived as like a help, and like fucking gas added to a fire. You know what I mean? Like you want to be that to whatever the fuck's going on. Bring your energy, bring your excitement, bring your fucking A game, bring your best mentality, bring your best fucking shoes. Basically value yourself, but bring more value to the table than you value yourself. A lot of people can bring value to the table, but if they don't value themselves, they get taken advantage of and become resentful. Right.
Yeah.
And then other people value themselves, but don't bring value to the table. And then they're entitled and don't do shit because no one wants to work with them. Right. So there's like this fine balance that I've seen, that the people that are moving up constantly are the best fucking people. It's interesting, dude. Cause when I was in As Blood Runs Black, I had this notion that like the next layer of like career, everyone sucks. Like that's where it's like Hollywood and everyone's mean and taking advantage of you and all this shit. And when I got to this point, it's the opposite. All of the dickheads who take advantage of people get weeded out. And the only people who are left are the people who care for you as a human. It's like this really, really strange duality that I did not expect. But basically, like, existing on a human level, providing value and valuing yourself is, I think, the best way to live as a brand, which is not human. So how to be the best brand is be human and be yourself.
Be more human.
Yeah.
And
dude, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but there's 700. Just speaking of value, there's 700 people in Sugarman's Lesson Lounge, and you're continuously giving value, giving a lot of people, the tools they need to kind of follow the path that you took without the struggles that you had. Can we just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, dude. So I've been giving guitar lessons for 15 years, maybe. That sounds about right. I'm 30. I got my first real guitar at 13. Got really serious. I was playing for 10 hours a day, and like within 2 years, I felt like I could teach people who wanted to learn anything else that I'd already learned. So I started teaching a long ass time ago. Got to the point where lessons were $15 an hour, and I was just wanted to help my friends get good at guitar. And over the course of time, as more people want to come to me and I become a better teacher and I can provide more value, my value as a teacher increases, right? And this has been happening for over a fucking decade now, to where it's at the point where I don't think every person on earth can pay for what I charge in an hour, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to help them with all of my fucking heart and soul, right? Yeah. So I created an online free guitar lesson community called Sugarman's Lesson Lounge, which is a on-ramp of a much larger thing that I'm working on that's going to be coming soon. But Sugarman's Lesson Lounge is a free online community that I've started. It's basically through a Discord, but it's much larger than just that. There's like a Facebook group, there's a website and all this shit. But through this Discord, I have, like we just said, just about 700 students. I'm constantly dripping like super awesome small pieces of insight, long form content, blogs, vlogs. We have an in-house luthier who will help you figure out how to fix your guitar if you have a problem. Like you said, with the safe space, I have something called Cracked Open, where I'll ask, like, what was one time that you did something you were the most afraid of, and how did you feel afterwards? And then people will talk about like something they're afraid of and what it turned them into. And then we have like fucking 700 people just like patting each other on the back and convincing each other to like go for more hard shit, right? We've got Shred Horse, the basketball game Horse.
Oh yeah.
So we do a version of that with we spell shred, like one person will post a lick and then everyone else is in the game has to do the lick as well. And if they don't, they get a letter S, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
so
hell yeah.
We've got a bunch of really interactive games. We've got a bunch of helpful moderators. I think there's like 88 channels in my Discord that are all based on different things. So like, it's an awesome, awesome, awesome place for anyone who's looking to be around the fire and staying warm, right? If you want to be around a bunch of people on the same path as you, grinding on guitar, absorbing information, seeing where it goes, get in my Discord. Go to sugarmanslessonlounge.com and you'll just get an immediate link to join that shit. And it's incredible, man. And like I was saying, it came from me wanting to provide more for more people. Like I don't want to be beholden to exchanging my time for dollars. I want to just provide things because sharing my love for the instrument and what it saved my fucking life, man. Guitar saved my fucking life. So like for me, I'm trying to convey whatever I can to help people who may need that in their life as well. And it just so happens to be around 700 people right now. And it's fucking awesome. And where I'm going with this is going to be even more fucking awesome. To leave you a little bit of a hint, the company that I started in Texas was a music education company that I was putting everything into, man. Like I took all of the money. This is a big part of like why I lost my mind, right? After my mom died, my father was like, look, man, I know you're not going to college. I know you're going to be a musician. Me and your mom, when you were born, set aside funds for you to go to college. You can use that to invest in your business if you want. And I wound up being the only investor in this business, and I invested everything that I had, and all of it got fucking lost, dude. So I like betrayed my mom, it felt like. So that was like a huge part of that loss. But Sugarman's Lesson Lounge is me kind of like taking that idea back, and I'm gonna be building forward with a lot of big ideas, and I'm very fucking excited with the people that I'm working with. I've learned my lessons with how to like work through the gauntlet of who to trust, who's not trustworthy, like I've gone through so many times in the past, because you need to get burned to know how to fucking protect yourself. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Like everything that's happened to me, dude, is like you said, it's why I'm the Dan that I am today, dude. Everything makes you who you are. So like, the lesson lounge is really just about me giving back, and I want to do it in a way that is entertaining. I call it infotainment is really what it is, right? Like I'm trying to just be really, really accessible, and I'm trying to help anyone who's asking for help. There's so many different facets of it, dude. Like my brain is just like thinking of different channel names. We've got one called Shred Meds. If you're struggling with something specifically, you could go to dansugarman.com/shredmeds and purchase a prescription, which would mean you send a video of yourself with what you're struggling, and I respond back with a video giving you exactly what to work on. Like there's so many helpful ways to where you don't need to pay my dollar amount for my hour if you want private lessons. Granted, I have a huge amount of private students, and it's so fucking awesome to be able to have that time with them, because the endless progress and evolution I'm seeing in my students is something that is so invigorating and keeps me moving. But that's not the barrier to threshold to learn shit from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel like they need to have X amount of like spare expendable money to get lessons, because you fucking don't. I want to provide that to you guys, like regardless of what it is. So that's really what this is about, man. It's about giving back.
Giving back, and like you said, that word value, man. I love the fact that you used that word, and like I said, everybody in the chat, I know there's a lot of musicians, a lot of guitarists in there. You guys, !guest, you'll get the link, and you'll join the Discord. I guarantee you guys will absolutely love it. We have a couple of questions in the question box, Dan, that I'd like to get to.
For sure. Actually, let me just say this real quick. Because we just hit 600 students like not too long ago, and we're like about to hit 700 right now. I just announced that anyone who joins the Discord gets a free tab book. So like if you guys do go join, you could all reap the benefits of getting one of my lesson books. And this isn't like learn one of my songs. It's like educational lesson shit, like two-hand sync, or how to operate with interfacing in the right hand, or legato, things like that. So if you want to take advantage of that, want to get some hands-on help in the Discord, pop in there, and I'll see you guys fucking in a few hours probably.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely, you guys. Look at it. I just joined. There you go, Ryan. There you go. Jump in there. Let's see it. So we have a question. If you could choose between playing in any of the bands or move on to play in another one of your favorite bands, economy aside, which would you pick? Interesting question.
Ooh, economy aside. Well, dude, here's the thing. I'm now in a band with my best friends. Like that I think defeats anything that I'm playing musically. So I'm gonna say I'm happy with where I'm at, because like at the end of the day, that relationship is what everything is built on. Being in a band is being married to 4 other fucking people.
Thank you for the clap for Derpy Paws.
It's a real fucking answer, right? Economy included. Let me fucking play for Michael Jackson. Like,
yeah.
You know, but
rest in peace, Michael Jackson. But still.
if the economy isn't a part of it at all, you know, like it's what it feels like to be in the band. It's what you do with your boys. It's like, yeah, I'm on stage for an hour and a half, but I'm off stage for 22 and a half hours with my guys, right?
Yeah.
With my team of fucking people. And that's what that shit's about, man. It's about how you guys operate together as a unit, you know? And like, I could sit here and be like, yo, it'd be really cool to be in fucking Metallica, but that shit seems tumultuous, man. Like I saw Some Kind of Monster. I know what the fuck they're going through. You know, like, yeah. And that's a great point. Like that's a proof of a band is like a multi-person polygamist marriage. You know what I mean? It's like really, really, really fucking strange. So like, I've worked through that threshold. I've been in bands that I loved. I've been in bands where I didn't get along with certain people. I've been in bands where everyone was my favorite person and it still didn't work out. And like now I'm in a band with my best friends, man. So like this is where it's at, dude.
It's amazing that you say that, because a lot of people don't know that even like when we talked about member changes and people leaving and people coming back, that shit also hurts. Like sometimes that's a breakup. Like it feels as bad as a breakup. So
dude, it's like straight the fuck up. Like I'm watching, you know, because right now I can't be on tour because I need to be home to handle some fucking personal life shit, and it was like a very hard decision to make. But I had to get a fill-in for the tour that just happened, and every time that I saw like a video, it was weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
there's like I'm being cheated on or something. Like it's just this weird relationship vibe, dude. And that's really what band shit is about. Yes, that relationship goes into how we operate on stage, the energy you see. That's the relationship we have backstage. The shit we write and put into a record, that's the energy backstage. The fun that you see in a fucking music video, that's because how all of us operate off stage, right? It all comes down to the interpersonal relationships, and like that's where this band to me is the shit.
Absolutely. That's very well put. We have another question in the question box that I genuinely am excited about. What is one of the most interesting things that your students taught you?
Personal solutions. There's no one size fits all for fucking anything, right? So like this comes back to my interest in like pedagogical fucking approaches, like how you teach things, how people learn and absorb, how the brain works. Being a good teacher doesn't mean that I am good at speaking, right? It doesn't mean that. It means that I am good at communicating to each individual student the way that they need to be communicated to. So to me, the biggest thing that I learned is the adaptability that needs to happen in a teacher-student relationship, because every fucking problem requires a different type of solution. And although the solutions may be related, my delivery of that solution needs to be entirely different or else it won't land. And that's all that fucking matters, is the landing, not if I said it. That's what that's what bad teachers exist on. I said it. Why don't you do your job in understanding what I just said, you jackass? Well, because you didn't say it for my brain to understand it, right? Like I need to speak in a way to certain students where I speak directly to their body, or I need to speak to my cerebral students. I need to speak directly to their neocortex and their thinking mind, not their feeling mind, like their limbic brain. There's certain like, it's the individual approach that is really what I learned. That would be my best answer, I think.
That's the only thing I have read or know about that kind of stuff. My wife made me read it. The love languages, basically speaking to someone in the way they would like to be spoken to, and communicating in their kind of, the way they would like some people like touch, some people like a gift, some people like that. And
words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. And if you just say words of affirmation to someone that doesn't actually accept it, and you're like, what the fuck's wrong with you? I said that shit. It still doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. So that's pretty fucking cool that you said that.
It's very interesting, man. And the teaching world is the same shit, dude. Like some students only understand things with metaphors. Like me being like, yo, you need to like do this shape with your hand, and you need to do this, and blah, 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 blah. And some people won't get it until I say, this is a half moon shape. You need to have a half moon here. And if you make a kink in your wrist, it's like a hose kink, and the fucking water won't flow. And then my fingers are fucking shit. But if I have a nice half moon shape, then everything can flow. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, half moon shape. I get it. But when I explain like, yo, you need to have like your position like this, look at it. They don't get it because their proprioception, their ability to see their body in space is not good. So students like that operate better on metaphors or analogies versus like if someone has good proprioception, I can speak directly to their fucking body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to steal that because while you were explaining it, I was sitting here going, oh, fuck. Yeah, that's amazing. Hell yeah. Free lesson, you guys.
Dude, and I don't want to say like, I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, which would be really cool if I could do that. I teach shit that like I've never seen other people teach, and it's because it's all based on like, I mentioned this before, Tucholsky, right? His whole entire premise, this is the artist documentary I was talking about before, Struggle. It's about the sickest artist ever. Anyone interested, go watch this. But he's talking about how like children early on are indoctrinated to take out all of the like imagination, all of the interests, all of their natural fucking paths that they would go down. They're told how to speak, how to think, all this shit. Tucholsky, when he was age 4 learning how to write, invented his own alphabet. And his father argued to the school to convince them to accept that alphabet.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and he still to this day only writes with this like strange hieroglyphic shit that you have no understanding what it is, right? And the whole premise is like, if you can be not stifled in how you approach and think about things, then the end result will be uniquely and organically you. So like, that is something that I really took into account here. Every time that I faced a problem as a student of the guitar, yes, I had some teachers. Yes, some of them helped me with certain things, but like my best guitar teacher, Carl Grossman, he taught me flamenco guitar. He didn't teach me anything electric, right? Like I learned fucking dynamics and how to like put like chords together and like classical position scales. Nothing that I use today is what I use, right? So it all came down to every time that I had a question, instead of turning to someone else and subscribing to their mentality and form of thinking, I would ask myself a better question, a better question, a better question until I got better answers. So to me, the like self-propelled responses to my own questions allowed me to get like really quick mastery on these concepts. And if it didn't fucking work on the guitar, it was immediate to anyone and myself, right? But if it worked, it was immediate to everyone and myself. So the approaches that I have to the instrument are very fucking out there. It's like you could take the red pill, or you could take both pills with some alcohol. Like that's my lessons. It's not red pill or blue pill. It's like, let's go down this really fucking weird, multi fucking faceted path that's going to be covering a lot of different shit in a lot of different ways. Some of my concepts range from like approaches and mentality to how we perceive songwriting and how we approach songwriting. I believe Trilla, my dude in here, I believe he was a part of one of my songwriting webinars. And I have to fucking say this now for anyone else who's like listening to me and going, all right, you have to be depressed and suicidal to write songs. No, so fucking wrong, dude. The headline negative fucking mentality that people have, that like depression leads to art and like all those things, it's sending people down a path of like trying to experience shitty things in their life so that they can be an artist. You don't need to experience anything other than your day to write a song. So like, for instance, I have this songwriting approach that I teach to all my students, and I did this over a 3-day webinar with something called Music Mentors Online, where there was like 100 something people who tuned in to watch me write the song over 15 hours, 5 hours a day. And I wrote this song from completely scratch. I walked in with zero fucking idea what I was going to do, and I walked them through my process of how I do it. And instead of being like, this song is about when I wanted to die and everyone didn't believe in me, like instead of being some like heavy shit like that, I break it down into like the very first thing of the first major event of my day. Here it is. I believe it was like waking up and being anxious to do that course, right? What are the emotions that go along with that? Anxiety, anticipation, imposter syndrome. I want to come across as elegant, but I know I'm not elegant because I cuss all the time. Do you know what I mean? So like those are the feelings that are inside of that. And then how would I translate those emotions? How would I flip that into a musical context? So how could I create the emotion of anxiety? I could maybe do some like augmented chords with some like tremolo on it to make it feel like shaky and vibrating. And I could have this like arching high pitched noise that's going in and out of key to create like a moving center point of me trying to like find balance in my morning. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, it's amazing when you put it like that. It's fucking mind blowing, dude.
So like all you need to do is fucking experience a day. Like I don't give a fuck what happened. I've worked on a song with a student about leftover Chinese food, and it was a sick song.
Yeah. Guitar like, Guru is in the chat, says the seminar was incredible, and thank you for that follow, Guitar Guru.
Yeah, it was like, it's, to me, the whole purpose is anyone can write songs and anyone could go through anything and write a song about it. You don't need to be special, amazing, or have gone through hell. That's like not what it's about. And I think it's like really important to say that as someone like myself who has gone through all this fucked up shit, and someone who might see where I'm at and go like, all right, like my mom's got to die. My dad has to have 2 heart attacks. Like, this is fucked up. I don't want this. Like, that's not what it's about. The songs that I write post all this shit, like Inside Out, just about my day, man. Really just about my day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's fucking amazing. I have 2 more questions for you. One from the question box, and then a question that I always like to end the podcast on. And but before we do that, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And I feel like getting to know you has been fucking special. I didn't know what to expect. We haven't had a conversation before this, but goddamn, dude, this has been fun.
Yeah, Adnan, I really, really fucking appreciate this, man. The culture, the platform that you've created here is fucking awesome, man. And you are a fantastic host and human being, man. I'm fucking. If you got more than 2 questions, fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah. Dude. Let's do it. We're already getting part 2 when in the chat. Yeah, well, this one I'm not sure if we can actually answer you, Daniel. Daniel 9699 is asking anything you could tell us about Welcome to Horrorwood.
Yes. Is that good?
There you go. That's the one. There you go. Yeah. Dan is the man.
The whole premise of this band is like that air of ambiguity and like mystery and like enigma and shit like that. Do you ask a hot dog maker how he makes hot dogs? Come on.
there's a specific leaning towards hot dogs in this conversation today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it has to do with shark dicks or something.
Shout out to Chimera_Mark. Sharks have 2 dicks, you guys.
I'm in the inside joke now, dude.
I'm gonna clip this and send it to him. Yeah, the sharks have 2 dicks and they use it. They alternate using them. They don't actually use them at the same time. It's fucking crazy. Mark told us that.
Is it like when you like use a pencil too much and it needs to be sharpened, so they go to the next one? Like what is that about?
Yeah, we'll need to get a video of Mark explaining exactly what happens with shark dicks. He should do an animal like a dick show just about animals' dicks. That'd be great. That's basically his stream. Oh,
I love that.
A massive shout out to Mark, and I'm fucking sitting here saying Mark like it's just a bro I grew up with. Mark Hunter was a massive influence on myself, on the music I make, on the reason I'm a vocalist, and this platform, this community, and the way we do things here has allowed me to like hang out with him. We had him on the podcast. Now we chat, we talk about OBS and how he can up his stream a little bit and do all this stuff. So it's fucking crazy. This whole platform and everything we're doing is mind-blowing, which is an amazing segue into this. You'll be on the Twitcheroonies very soon.
Yeah, dude. I'm trying to figure out some of these details currently. I'm either going to start October 1st area or the beginning of whatever the fuck is after October, November.
That's the one.
I almost said September. I think that's not right. But I'm either going to be starting October 1st or September 1st, depending on a couple different details. But I'm fucking excited, guys. I'm going to be doing like live streaming lessons. I'm going to be writing songs live in front of you guys. I'm going to be doing podcast stuff like this called Mindframe, which is going to be followed up by a book that I'm writing. I'm doing fucking just hangouts. One of the things I'm going to do is do like horror movie nights where I'm going to just watch movies that I'm terrified of. So I look like a bitch in front of everyone. We can talk about that. So like, yeah, I'm planning on having some fun with Twitch, and I'm really, really excited about having partnered with them and seeing where this can go, because the platform is fucking incredible, dude.
It is. It really is. And
Yeah.
For everybody that's new here, by the way, like Danny9699 and everybody that hit the follow, Texas Star, Trillima Dude, on this channel. On this channel, we Wednesdays is a podcast. Saturdays I do stream where I stream my band's stuff and some covers. And on Mondays we do a thing called theme stream, where we find a theme, we pin it either 2 bands against each other, 2 genres against each other, or something like female fronted metal bands, and we just do requests and stuff like that. So stick around if you guys like what you hear. Stick around. It's not
awesome.
that bad.
That's awesome.
We have a horror movie recommendation since. We seem to vibe on that topic. Absentia, really good. Very few jump scares. We got that from 4 Derpy Paws right there.
That's my style right there.
But yeah, man, we talked about it a little bit earlier. The amount of stuff that you have to do being just like a musician in this day and age is absolutely fucking mind blowing. The path you've taken along the way, all the things you've learned, all the different hats you've worn, kind of funnel into this. That's why I love doing things chronologically, because when you look at someone's body of work and just their life up until this point, you're like, this is exactly what made you stand right there where you are right now, in the position you're in. And it's always very fucking interesting to see it that way. But
totally, dude.
And I'm gonna get weird with you guys. I'm gonna get weird. I'm gonna kill the background music. This is we have to get real up close and personal. This is the kind of
bring it on.
Dan, we have to get real up close and personal. This is the kind of. If you had a time machine, and you were able to go back in time to young Dan, just before the Gibson came in, with that guitar covered in marker that looks like strawberries. If you had a time machine, 30-year-old Dan going back in time to 12-year-old Dan, and you were gonna say something to young Dan, what would that be?
Wow. You know what's fucked up, dude, is I've myself had a podcast when I was doing that old company. It was called Everfret TV. And this was the last question I would ask people too. And
are you serious? Oh, that's fucking awesome.
dead serious. This was like 3 years ago. And I myself never asked myself the question. So I am fucked right now in answering this. Let me think. If I could go back in a time machine and tell myself anything, what would it be? Take care of your mind and body. That's what I would say. Yeah. I would say that because for me, everything that I do is reliant on those two things, right? Like to the degree that today wouldn't have happened if I didn't inject myself with 2 cups of fucking black coffee, right? Because my my mind needs to be on point for me to deliver anything that's worth a shit, right? Me giving a guitar lesson for 10 hours, 4 days a fucking week, that's all body and it's mind, right? So being on tour is body and mind. Being off stage is just mind. Can you do that without going insane? Can you be off? Can you be off tour for 3 days? Even in a bus or a van, it doesn't fucking matter. Can you just sit there for 3 days waiting? Like there's so much trials and tribulations inside of what we do as musicians that I would say I would have hoped to begin my journey about caring about that shit much sooner. That's what I would say. Because all of that would lead to me doing what I do now, just probably at a higher degree or like just operating at a higher octane level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, obviously I could be like, don't be a pussy, like stop being afraid of failure, like all those things, right? But I feel like if I had primed my mindset and my physical state earlier and better, I would have just done that willingly, right? So that's what I would say. I'm talking about the fucking seed, not the tree that grows from it.
That I was just about to say that. I was just about to say it's the foundation you're working on, not necessarily just the branches, like you said.
Exactly. Like practice legato, you idiot. Like, dude, that doesn't matter. None of that shit matters.
Invest in Google.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For sure. I should have done that.
One question I love to follow that up with is would young Dan fucking listen?
You need to get the fuck out of my head. So I do this thing with my guitar students called Say It and Then Play It. And I just did this yesterday with like 3 of my fucking students. The concept of Say It Then Play It is learning how to connect your emotional state to what you're like being able to play. And a lot of people have a very hard time with translating something they hear in their head to getting it on the guitar. So the thing that I'll do is I'll be like, find any inanimate object in your room and then say one sentence about it. Oh, look, there's a mic in front of me. And then I go, da, 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 da. And I try to emulate the exact phrasing and the exact notes of how I said it so that I can say something once and then connect to it. The second that we've been like, hey, look, my knee is exposed. This is Amish porn. Like the second I've like said a few different types of sentences, right? Then we move on to this amazing thing. It's the idea of if you could give, I literally say 15-year-old you, whatever their age is, I'll cut it in half, right? If you could give you half of your age one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be? And they say it to me and I'm like, okay, cool, now play it. And immediately something else happens. They're now emoting, and it's not just like, if I'm like, yo, you should work out. What they play is da 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 da. There's like a whole story inside of what they play because they're connected emotionally to what they're telling their younger selves. And after they do that well, I go, all right, what would shithead you retort back with? What would the young version of you say back? And then all of a sudden they say that back and they play that part. And I'm like, cool, I want you to play exactly what you would tell yourself, the piece of advice, and then respond back. And then they do it. And I just go, you just improvised a call and response solo that is so fucking emotional.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And it's the connection of like, what would you say back and what would you say that creates like the understanding of how to create something that's tangible on the guitar. Like I can sit there and be like I remember one of my students told me a story about like how he scraped his knee on his bike, and like he played it for me, and I was like, yo, that sounds like it hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like sometimes it is actually there, right? But the notion of being able to like get to that point in your mind and musically express it is really what we're all after on the guitar or any fucking instrument, or fuck instruments, art in general. So to answer your question, would I listen? I didn't listen to fucking anyone, dude. I'm such a contrarian, against the grain type person that everything that I've ever done has been the opposite of what I was told. Yeah. So and in knowing that, I would tell myself, I would have just reverse psychologied myself into doing it, right? I would just say like, what was the piece of, I would say, dude, just ignore your mind, ignore your body. That shit doesn't matter. That's the piece of advice I would say. So that when I hear it as my dumb kid, I would go, fuck that, I'm going to take care of myself. And that is me knowing myself to a scary degree. I was
just about, dude, self-awareness and being able to even look back and just be like, because I'd love to think if I gave myself a piece of advice from a 33-year-old me that's been through it for a little while, younger me would be like, oh, you know what? This wise old fuck knows what he's talking. I would just flip him off, probably kick him in the balls and run away.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
You're me from the future. Get fucked. Get out of here. I don't believe you.
Guys, you got fat, motherfucker. What are you doing? Just be a little shit. Like be an absolute little shit. That's it.
Yeah, man. It's so real, dude. And like literally having this thought myself is reminding me how fucking potent this is emotionally. I'm literally sitting here like saying it to myself as a kid. And I'm trying to find a way to like hear it. Because there's a lot of, we don't need to get into this shit, right? But there's a lot of like spiritual work, I guess I could say, that can be done on nurturing your inner child. Like on giving your inner child the things that it needs at your adult level, right? Have you ever heard about these kind of ideas?
Yeah, absolutely.
I almost feel like having this conversation with yourself can be helpful, and you can, you know what? Fuck it, I'll just say it. This book, remember this book?
Yeah.
So it's explaining the idea that manifestation, as foofy and fucking new age as that term is, the science behind it is about quantum realities. And it's the idea that if you can think something and then have a feeling that is in line with that thought, which basically becomes a belief, those two things trigger a quantum reality to collapse into your reality, right? So bring me back 30 seconds, dude. I just totally fucking had a brain fart. I need a third cup of coffee.
There's another cup of coffee. We're talking about the how you can basically interpret that interaction and come out of it.
Okay. So in like the first couple chapters of this book, Dr. Joe Dispenza is explaining like experiments and things where this actually fucking happened. And one of the experiments that happened in like 2006, I'm going to botch the date and the numbers, but you could read this book and find the study and see what I'm talking about. In 2006, they chose 3,000 people at random and broke them up into two different groups, 1,500 and 1,500. They said these 1,500 people were given a list of 3,000 people that were dealing with some type of fatal disease. And they were told to choose one name on this list and send positive intentions to for 2 weeks, right? The other group was told to do absolutely jack shit. After those 2 weeks, what they discovered is that all 1,500 people who had positive intentions set to them either miraculously healed, were released from the hospital, or had like miraculous improvement. The kicker, the study was done in 2006. All the sick people were in 1994.
Wow.
What? What? So what that basically is signifying is that the world of quantum doesn't give a fuck about time, to the degree that like if I think and believe something so wholeheartedly, dude, like I almost just said something I shouldn't have. There are things that I put in place in my mind when I was a kid that are just now coming into my reality, right?
Yeah.
Like things that I'll be announcing soon. That was like my dream as a fucking kid, right? So like, time doesn't fucking exist. So I'm trying now in my head to go and actually talk to myself to see if I can give myself that piece of information to correct it back then. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
holy crap.
I know that sounds fucking insane, but there's like science behind the quantum world that explains that this shit is fucking real. And the idea of like collapsing a quantum situation into your life done through just like thinking and believing something. And here's where the word manifestation is shit. People think if I think something, it'll happen. Thinking and believing something propels you to do the work necessary. That's where manifestation happens, right? It primes your body and mind to be the right person in the right place at the right time. There is no right place, right time. That's the fucking fallacy. You got to be the right person in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And that comes from being prepared. And being prepared is from doing the work. And doing the work willingly comes from like feeling like you should do the work. So every time that you force yourself to do something, it's not coming from a place of like realness, right? Anytime you're like, yo, you should be doing this, you're giving first of all, you are an authority voice in your mind and you're giving yourself a reason to rebel against yourself. Any you should, whenever I say this shit, is the voice of my parents. And anytime I hear a you should sentence, I rebel. So what I've trained myself to do is switch the term to you should to I want. And then all of a sudden I take ownership of it and I do it because I'm here in control, right? So like the you shoulds that your voice is fucking, or that your head is fucking sending into your mind, that's an authority that you have anti fucking positive relationships with that you are just going to rebel against whether you know it or not, right? So learning how to understand how this shit works and then learning how to become acquainted with your deeper, more fucked up self allows you to kind of modify and like manipulate things into working for you. And this is a really big part of it, man. Like this book I fucking recommend to anyone who's interested in this weird shit I'm talking about. It's wild.
I love that you said that, because that quote, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Is I've switched out the word luck. It's manifestation happens because you're prepared, and then the opportunity arises and you're ready to pounce on it. And it's not this like dreamy state that people really make it out to be. It's just more of a goal at the end of the road kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Luck is right person luck is the right place at the right time. That's what like the world looks at as luck. Like you just were there when you needed to be, but you were also the person that was ready to accept it and do something with it. And that is the preparation. 100%, dude. So like there's so much that we could say about this shit, dude. And I honestly just feel like the biggest piece of advice I could say is like, learn to fucking listen to yourself, learn to ask better questions to yourself, because the questions you ask yourself determine the quality of answers you get in your life, and all of that shit propels you towards something. And if you could take control of what that something is by just asking yourself particular questions. All right, dude, let me just do this with everyone here because it's fucking insane. If anyone is watching this, I'm going to ask you to do it with me. Do a quick spin, and I want you to just look for anything in your room that is brown. Just do a quick spin. All right. Can you tell me everything that you just saw that's blue? Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible. because your mind is so focused on the brown, the shit of life, that you can't focus on the positives of life. Your mindset, your eyes, your perception is focused on what your brain tells it to do. So when you say, look for the negative, that's all I'm going to see. I won't see like the fucking $1 billion satchel of money in front of me if I just stepped in dog shit and I'm pissed about it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like this really interesting concept of just like modifying the way that you perceive reality, because the way you perceive reality determines your personality, which determines your physical reality. Like there's all these, fuck man, that just was way too many words. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes absolute sense. And I'm already gonna take you up on this thing, because Derpy Paws already asked a question in the chat, and you're gonna be starting your Twitch soon. If we get the Twitch up and running, we need a part 2 where we just space out. We just space out and dive deeper into this world, because I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in. Something that I'm personally interested in, and I love the passion behind the way you're talking, and I'm fucking learning a lot, to be honest with you.
That's dope, dude. I'm glad I'm not saying shit you've already heard or just coming across like a fucking idiot. So right on.
Hell yeah. And guys, everybody that's been here, thank you so much for hanging out. This has been one of my favorite episodes, season 2. Fucking 17 episodes in season 2 already. It's absolutely crazy. I absolutely love each and every single one of you guys. Hype train very early on in the beginning. You guys, the support is absolutely insane. And we'll be back. We'll be back with a lot more. Oh yeah. If anyone wants this one.
So This is the guitar that I've used for all the Ice 9 Kills tours. This is the guitar that I wrote and recorded the new record on. I'm actually giving this guitar away on October 9th. Go to murderaxe.com to sign up for your chance to win. This thing is, I don't even want to talk about how much this is worth. This is an insanely good guitar. Go sign up, get your chance to win, and good fucking luck to all of you guys.
Hell yeah. And there you go. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat real quick, and also everything that you guys heard us talk about, everything that we mentioned in the stream, all the links, all that stuff will be on our Discord. We have an amazing community over there, so if you're not part of it already, !Discord in the chat, and you'll get to meet all the crazies from around the world. Dan, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. This has been a fucking amazing conversation.
Enjoyed the shit out of you, Adnan, and I appreciate the entire community. It seems like I recognize some of these screen names, so I'm stoked to see some of like old homies and fans of the band kick on and fucking watch this, dude. I'm so stoked to be here, man. Appreciate all of you guys. Can't wait for part 2.
And for everyone that missed anything in the chat, if you guys came in a little late, it'll be up on Patreon tonight. Right after this, it'll be up on what's it called? Like Spotify and all of those guys on Sunday, including YouTube for the video as well. Lingo213, thank you for the fire, and then sprayed some water right after, keeping things safe. He's putting out the fire real quick. Dan, we have a tradition around here to officially end the episode. We hand off to the guest to say a line, whatever you want, in whatever way you want as well. Some people have done accents. It's pretty crazy. And then officially end the episode by saying the words, hit the outro. So thank you guys for being here. We'll pass it off to Dan.
Guys, fucking appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am super stoked to be able to share my art with you guys. And to share my love for shit with you guys. If any of you guys want to connect and become the homies, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, find me on Spotify, catch all my music, catch me on tour with Ice 9 Kills soon. I'm just honored as fuck to be able to share anything that I have to say with anyone who's willing to hear it. And with that said, let's hit the fucking outro.